Is it time?
It is time for us to do what we have been doing, and that time is every day.
We'll see what happens. We'll know in a very short period of time, but it looks like it could be something that will be not good. Believe me, not good.
I am a dissident.
Don't move. Move.
I'm saying no, why you hear Palantir, 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 Palantir. It's not going to be stopped.
Seriously, we need to release the Epstein list.
Turns off.
I am not a church boy.
Turns off.
They're full-on vampires.
They hate our beef. They hate our beef. They hate our beef because our beef is beautiful and theirs is weak.
Not good. Believe me, not good.
Hello, dissidents. Welcome, one and all, to a Thursday midday edition of the Do Dissidents podcast. Keaton Weiss here with Russell Dibu, of course. What's going on?
Hello.
There you go. Beautiful. There he is. Hey, it's as promised, Black Sweatshirt Thursday, everybody. Hope you brought your sweatshirts. Hope you're fitting in. We're a little bit of different wardrobe today. His eyes are not working. He went blind. He started Ozempic the other day, and now he can't see. Yeah,
I went blind. They kept. They told me that if I kept doing it, I would go blind and my palms would get hairy. I didn't believe them.
Yeah.
All these years later, you know.
Oh, I thought it was the Ozempic. You didn't start. You don't do Ozempic though. I heard that fucks with your vision.
Yeah, the Ozempic. Maybe it's the Ozempic.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I would definitely not take a weight loss drug that could destroy my gastrointestinal system forever.
Yeah, or your vision, right? Don't they say people
go blind from using
side
Ozempic?
effects? Yeah.
I think it's just, because the Epstein stuff was like really small print. I think it strained my eyes.
His eyes
When we were in the pre-show, I was like, I'm not going to be able to read this, so I better just start the show with glasses.
There you go. Starting the show with glasses. New looks.
It's been a while.
Around.
Well, I used to wear my glasses on the show.
That's right.
When we first started. Yeah.
I used to wear contacts, but I didn't like them. They're not comfortable. Contacts are just not comfortable.
You don't get used to them?
They really aren't. Not really.
You got people who wear them like their whole life.
I wore them for like a year and a half. Like I wore them for like, I don't know, a year or two. But yeah, you never really get used to them. It feels weird. And the thing about contacts that's a real pain in the ass is like, not that this comes up very often, but sometimes if you get tired throughout the day and you doze off and take a nap, you can't fall asleep in contacts. It's very bad for your eyes.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So if you want to be able to just take a nap, you got to have the
You got to take the contacts out.
Yeah. And if you get the disposable ones, those are very expensive. Like the single use where you just take them out and throw them in the garbage.
Right.
Those are easier because the other ones you have to maintain. You got to put them in solution and make sure they're clean and put them out and back in. The alternative, so I never liked them. So that's why I figured I would wear eyeglasses. And that's it. I'm a glasses guy. But make it work as best I can. 758 strong in the YouTube chat. 270 filing in over on Rumble. I feel like, today's a great opportunity for national unity amongst everyone who's definitely not a child molester. I feel like we should all be able to come together on a day like
even
today.
For the child molesters, I feel like a lot of them were probably like, oh no, Trump's going to get elected. We can't mainstream our fan of the playground activities anymore. And now, wow, man. Wow.
Times have changed.
Has that turned out to be a boon for them?
Of course. Of course. Remember a couple years back when that movie came out?
NAMBLA is like partying in the streets.
Yeah. when that Sound of Freedom movie came out, and
everybody's
like, why are the liberals afraid to talk about sex trafficking? Well, those were different times. Those were different times. I'll tell you, times change. Got to keep up. Got to keep up.
Here they were thinking they were going to be able to mainstream their perversions through liberal academia.
Right.
And little did they know they're going to mainstream it through Trump's White House.
Yeah, through MAGA.
Yeah. Look, they are doing the whole paid conservative media for hire is on a full court press to rehabilitate fans of the playground. Now that it turns out the president is such an enthusiastic fan of the playground, they're all jumping all over each other to interview Woody Allen.
Yeah, right.
Whether
exactly.
you believe the accusations about Farrow, I forget her first name is
Mia Farrow.
No, not Mia.
Well,
Farrow,
Ronan was the
daughter.
Kid.
Ronan is the reporter, but then there's the child that he supposedly did bad things with. It's not controvertible that he married Sun Yi, who he had raised as a child. Sun Yi is in the background in a shot at Hannah and her sisters in a Thanksgiving scene as a fucking child. He raised her. That's incontrovertible. That's not up for debate. That happened. Why are they so intent on rehabilitating him? These were the people who were saying, "Oh, the Democrats, they're all coded and not so coded fans of the playground. They're covering for these people." Why the fuck are you all dying to rehabilitate all of these perverts? Why?
Yep. It's pretty amazing.
It's like they've tried to slip it into like they're victims of wokeness.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. Exactly. They're victims of the cancel mob, right?
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, we are going to get started. There were a couple of just big piles of garbage that fell on Trump's head yesterday. Obviously, the Epstein one was the big one, but it was difficult to outdo this one. So, of course, a couple nights ago, part 2, I suppose, of the Laura Ingraham interview dropped because this clip had not gone viral on the first round of Ingraham interview snippets, but it went ultra viral 2 nights ago. I mean, this was everywhere. As you can see, this tweet dropped 8:09 p.m. November 11th, so that would have been Tuesday night. Here's Donald Trump, who was already kind of on thin ice with the base regarding the H-1B visas. And here he is doubling down on the exact position MAGA does not want to hear.
Like what we have right now.
And does that
the
mean
Republicans have to talk about it, Laura.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people.
No, you don't. I mean, did he decide, you know what? I'm just going to write Democrats ads for them. I'm just not. Maybe he's afraid that Democrats are going to use AI ads against him, and he doesn't want them to use AI. He wants them to use him. Maybe he's got a big ego, so he doesn't like the AI renderings of himself. He wants them to use the real thing. So he's like, I better give them the best material I possibly can so that they put me in the ads and not AI. So let me just say exactly what my liberal opposition wants me to say so that they can run the most ruthless, effective ad campaign possible. How do you say, no, you don't? Well, we have talented people here. No, you don't. That's literally writing a Democrat's ads for them. That's literally what that is. You couldn't script it any better. That is incredible.
My experience is most Americans are stupid, they're fat, they're slobs, they're lazy.
Yeah.
We need to get people from overseas. Those people, they work very hard. They're thin. They're thin. They're immaculate.
Yeah, they show up on time.
Americans, they smell like cheese whiz a lot of times. I don't like to work the rope lines for that reason.
Yeah.
Flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here.
No, you don't have. You don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put you.
Why not? We can't give unemployed Americans jobs. No, we can't do that. It's not like that's what I ran on. Yeah.
I thought that's why you were putting together this whole brown shirts force and unleashing them on American cities.
Yeah.
To get rid of all these immigrants so you could give Americans jobs.
Right. I thought that was the whole thing. I thought it was all about jobs. I'm pretty sure that's why you won Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania in 2016, because all of these blue-collar workers, many of them actually registered Democrats who live in these deindustrialized places, were hoping that you would find jobs for them. You would make work for them. What do you mean? You can't just take someone off an unemployment line and give them a job. Really? Wow, that's a hell of a thing for a politician to say.
Also, we've done studies. They're going to have to increase the width of the doors. They're also fat. We have to we have to get special chairs. We can't hire these people. We have to bring people in from the Philippines. They're tiny.
That's right.
People have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles, or I'm going to put
How did we ever do it before?
Well,
I'll
give you an example. In Georgia, they raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea.
They were the
that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it.
Right. So we need to bring South Koreans in to make batteries. And as for the unemployed Americans, well, they're just going to get hooked on opioids and die. I call that America First. That's my policy program. That's what I ran on. That's what I ran on. Is Americans are too stupid to learn how to make batteries, so we have to import South Koreans to make batteries.
Oh, yeah. No, fires all the time at those battery plants. Hey, Jed! I think that's the Duracell plant on the outside of town.
Yeah,
right. No, that happens all the time.
All kinds of explosions.
Batteries, yeah.
He's
just making shit up. He's just making it up. Well, this is the reality that Trump is what he has always been. He's an unconscionable asshole. And that kind of worked when he was on the outside running against people that everybody hated, because he was directing all of these qualities at Biden, at Harris, at people you don't like. He was being an asshole towards them. So it was very easy to appreciate that, even if you didn't like Trump, like we appreciated a lot of the stuff he would direct at them. But because he's an asshole and a narcissist, now he's just directing it at the American people.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Oh, who knew the guy who shits in a golden toilet has no particular affection for the working man and woman? Who knew?
Yeah.
Can't believe that. What a plot twist.
Tough to see coming. Indeed. So here's Jamie Mitchell of Gays Against Groomers. What is happening to our president? Oh, yeah, no, MAGA, really, they did not take this well. Here's Steven Crowder. Says, there's no shortage of talent in America. If H-1B visas were really about the best and brightest, they wouldn't all go to the cheapest bidder. Once again, I mean, we've gone through this several times, but there is like a genius visa. I forget what it's called. You know, visas for especially talented people.
It's like 02 or something.
Yeah, 60% of H-1B visas go towards entry or junior level work. Well, okay, so this whole MacGuffin about, oh, well, no, we're going to bring in the most talented people on H-1Bs. That's not a thing. That's not a thing. Right. That's a separate visa. Most of these H-1Bs goes to entry or junior level work.
Yeah,
yes.
We've done segments on this.
Yeah,
a lot of them go to people doing service jobs in motels and restaurants.
Right. Exactly. So here's Lauren Witzke. I don't even recognize Trump anymore. What is this crap? So disappointing. Look at Tim Pool. Tim Pool, in response to unusual whales, saying the unemployment rate for 20 to 24-year-olds is 9.2%, highest level since 2016. Timmy says, don't worry, Trump is bringing in more H-1Bs to make sure our young people are fucked. Yeah, this was really, yesterday was a great day to just scroll X, because it really was, and a lot of people mentioned this, that this really was the end, the beginning of the end of MAGA. There's a certain finality in the air yesterday. Here's Batya Ungar Sargon. goes on Megyn Kelly and explains how this is a big problem.
I think there are two areas where he is vulnerable to his own base. And it's because their love and attachment to him is based on these two things. It's the fighting of China and the American elites that support them, like our university system, and then the immigration front. And he does not have a lot of wiggle room there. It's funny, Mark Halperin, who's in your network, on the Megyn Kelly network, he asked me once on one of his shows, what's the correct number of Chinese or foreign students we should have in American universities? And my answer was 0.
Yes.
0.
0. I'm with you.
Like,
Batya for president.
0. Every one of those spots should go to a black kid or a kid from Appalachia.
Yes, well, from Appalachia, ideally. Yes, that is
ideally.
Yeah, that's what she wanted to interject there, but Batya talked over her. Yes, black kid or an Appalachian kid. I mean, preferably an Appalachian.
It is such an absolute chutzpah to be giving the greatest privilege in American education to our enemies and not go.
Have you ever seen the film Deliverance, Megan? Why are we giving music scholarships to people in Appalachia? They can play the shit out of those banjos.
Yeah, they don't even need all 4 strings.
And recruiting that talent here at home. And it's the exact same thing with the H-1B visas. Donald Trump was not elected because he tweets mean things. He was elected to put Americans first.
That's right. Well, look, I mean, Donald Trump has been known to run his mouth and occasionally talk out of his ass and have a bad interview where he goes off the reservation and says something that he doesn't really mean or that does not actually reflect the policy priorities of his administration. So let's go to Kristi Noem here to clear things up, right? Because maybe she can clarify, well, no, I don't know. You know how Donald is. Sometimes he gets like that. He says crazy things. But she is going to reassure everyone that no, we actually are going to limit these H-1B visas and prioritize American workers, right? I'm sure that's what she says here. Let's take a look.
Position on these visas.
No, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists.
Support. What did I tell you? I told you this from before day one. I told you this during the campaign season. I said, sure as I'm sitting here, mark my words, write it down. They are going to make immigration a crime and safety and security issue. They have to make it a crime and safety and security issue because they cannot make it an economic issue. Why? Because they plan on selling you out to the H-1B visa holders. That's why. That's exactly why. Okay, I was among the first. I must pat myself on the back in my cozy black sweater here on Black Sweater Thursday. That I told you this was going to happen. This was the most obvious thing in the world to see coming. That's why they were fear-mongering about Tren de Aragua and MS-13, and they're bringing fentanyl. That's what all that was about. Because they're going to sell out American workers, which means they need another rationale for the immigration crackdown. And that's what it was going to be. So you could have seen that coming a mile away. Let's take a look again.
Besant and Pigman Lutnick, because they don't really care. They're rich. They're not standing for election. They have their positions because they actually own the presidency. They actually own the political class. They're the people really in charge. So they tell the truth. They both, when they have been asked about the jobs that these factories are going to provide, immediately started gushing about AI and smart factories and how they're actually not going to need much labor because they don't give a shit. They do tell the truth if you ask them about this, if you want to pay attention.
Of course.
No, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons.
The right reasons, like they want to build our cars. So the
and
Americans
organizations
don't
that
have
hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all.
We've sped up our process. We've sped up our visa process. Wow. Wow, did you vote for this? Where's all the I voted for this people?
Of that, but also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before.
Wonderful.
More people are becoming citizens because we're not just streamlining and building some processes back into our immigration policies. We're also making sure that these individuals that are coming into our country and get that privilege, that they actually are here for the right reasons.
Which are to what? To take Americans' jobs? Like, what do you mean they're here for the right so, I mean, it's really unbelievable. So at the same time, because we're going to do a segment a little later about ICE going out and terrorizing people, beating people up and asking people for their papers, many of whom are American citizens. So what is all that for then? If you're here bragging that you're actually expediting people's pathway to entry so that they can integrate into our society, i.e. work in America, work the jobs that the schmucks who voted for you guys thought that they were going to be getting. Like, it is amazing. Like I said, I've never seen anything like this. I have never seen a self-sabotage like this. It's unbelievable. Matt Walsh picks up on it. We do not want or need more people to become citizens. Here's John Daniel Davidson. Says, what is going on in the Trump administration? Who told them MAGA was all about mass immigration so long as the paperwork gets filed properly? We don't need more paper Americans. We need fewer foreigners taking jobs that should go to actual Americans. Actual Americans. Yeah, don't forget. It's a white nationalist movement here. You guys are not delivering the beef here. Wall Street Maeve says, I didn't vote for this. This is not America first. The Trump administration is barreling towards a blue tsunami in the midterms. Anthony Sabatini.
Kristi Noem's grandmother called. She wants her neck back.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anthony Sabatini, who's a Republican from Florida. Insanity. This administration is done. All right. Well, let's see. All right. Kristi Noem. Okay. So we had Trump, say we're going to have more H-1Bs. Kristi Noem maybe had an opportunity to clean that up, but she didn't. Not to be sexist or anything, but she can be a bit ditzy. So let's look at the pro in the room. Let's look at the grown up in the cabinet here. Scott Bessent. Let's see what he has to say.
Aired her interview from a couple of days ago, and the kind of clashed a little on H-1B visas, which you upped the fee to $100,000. I want you to watch this and tell me what you think.
And does that mean the H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration? Because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent.
We have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
You can't
give jobs for people who need jobs.
Yeah, you can't ask me to create jobs. You can't. You can't ask us to give Americans jobs. No.
I mean, that's not just amazing. That's just amazing. You can't take people off unemployment
and put them to work.
What the
you can't just take an unemployed person and give them a job. What are you, nuts? It doesn't get better.
These people, they're really regarded. Most of these people. Have you ever talked to them? I talked to them when I was campaigning. Remember, I did that whole McDonald's thing. Everybody I worked with, they're regarded, completely regarded. I had to show them how to make the fries.
Line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
Where do you stand, Mr. Secretary?
For years, 30 years, we have offshored precision manufacturing jobs. And the president's point here is, we can't snap our fingers and say, you're going to learn how to build ships overnight. We want to bring semiconductor industry back to the U.S. There are going to be big facilities in Arizona.
What did we do? During World War II, we put women in factories, women who have never worked with their, not never, not everybody, don't come at me, Jesus Christ, but you know what I'm talking about. Like, we very famously had a, all hands on deck approach where we put people to work in these factories who had never worked there in the past. Now all of a sudden, well, no, we can't just put people in factories and you can't make someone an architect overnight. But yeah, you could get people to work on assembly lines fairly quickly. Obviously, you can.
So I think the president's vision here is to bring in overseas workers where these jobs went.
Who have skills.
Who have the skills, 3, 5, 7 years to train the U.S. workers. Then they can go home. The U.S. workers fully take over.
Sounds like one of those just transitions that politicians like Bill Clinton promised, right? The jobs of tomorrow. Yeah, no. So we're going to bring in H-1B visa holders for 7 years while you guys learn how to screw a tire on a car for 7 years, and then we're gonna kick them out, and you guys are gonna take those jobs. Yeah, talk about a Lucy in the football.
Do you understand the concern that people have? Hey, an American can have that job. Why you give it to a guy from
But an
India or
American
China?
can't have that job.
So it's specific skills.
Because we haven't built ships in the U.S. for years. We haven't built semiconductors.
Yeah.
So this idea of overseas partners coming in, teaching American workers, then returning home, that's a home run.
It's going to take 5 years to, like, when Trump's not president anymore. That's when they're going to get the jobs. That's what people voted for. They voted for jobs in 7 years. That was the promise to you guys. But yeah, no, we're gonna put you guys to work in 7 years, building cars and ships. Rob, in response to that clip, says it's insulting they think people are moronic enough to swallow this bullshit. We just need to give foreigners 3 to 7 years to train Americans, at which point we'll be out of office collecting fat think tank checks, and those foreigners will not have left. No.
Yeah.
No. Samuel Culper says, weak damage control. I like Besant, but holy shiz. Yeah, why? Why do you like him? He doesn't like you. I like Besant, but holy shiz.
I thought these
the
guys
optics.
all. Do you like George Soros?
Yeah, you like Soros? You like Soros and Besant?
Because I am guaranteeing the guy with the fucking Illuminati eye as his avatar is not a big fan of George Soros.
No, but he likes
so
Besant.
why do you like Besant, his golden boy?
Yeah. Well, I could think of one possible reason. But anyway, I like Besant, but holy shiz, the optics of this, especially at the time a lot of Americans are struggling, is absolutely horrific. And no one believes they will then go home either. This is not good. That's right. Hey, let's see what Steve Bannon has to say. Is this working on Sloppy Steve? I don't think so.
So this is where we are, and you got now Scott Bessent throws a whole different one, a whole nother thing out there. Hey, whoa! We're just bringing them in for a couple of years to train. So it's going to be specific industries where we're actually lacking just the craftsmen. They're going to trade, and I don't think. And people in Georgia got to correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not so sure the battery situation in Georgia was just bringing in the best guys to train people, and then they're going to go home.
I'm just going to point something out here. You really have to have certain assumptions about what a broken-brained audience you have, how little pride and self-respect your audience has, how low quality your audience must be, to quote yourself on a placard and put it over your left shoulder.
I didn't even know.
For your podcast.
Yeah.
Like, you have to really assume, no, they won't think I'm an asshole because they think so little of themselves that that'll just reinforce their need to see me as like a big alpha daddy that they can get the truth from.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even realize that. And he does quote himself on that placard as part of his set.
Like if you would watch that and not think the guy's an asshole,
right?
You're really broken, man. You're really broken.
All right. Well,
and Jesus is the counterpart. He's got a picture of Jesus on the right, and then he quotes himself on the left. That's the visual balance here.
I guess I'm gonna have to cancel that Etsy order I put in a couple days ago. Okay, all right.
I told you that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Train people, and then they're going to go home. My understanding, and maybe my facts are wrong, but I don't think so. My understanding was local folks in Georgia notified people because the poor South Koreans were living, 10 to a room, like they want the H-1B guys. I don't think they had the official visas. And they may have been training guys, but I don't think the program was like, hey, they're just here to help us and train us, and then they're leaving.
Of course not. Of course not. You know that. Come on. Don't be a pussy, Steve. You know, of course not. Of course it's a bullshit, obviously. The Illuminati guy who has a crush on Scott Bessent even knows that it's bullshit, right? You don't know? Come on. Let's be a bit more of a straight shooter than
Say
that.
what
can
you
we,
want
please?
about Scott. His fashion sense is fabulous.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, this tweet from Charlie Kirk started circulating far and wide as soon as this interview went viral. So here's a tweet from Charlie Kirk, August 14th. This is the social compact breaking down. We need urgency to restore it. What are some items on this list? Mass deportation, stop the H-1B scam, dramatically reduce legal immigration, end chain migration, build 10 million homes for Americans, and crush the college cartel. So Trump just kind of really refuted two of those points with the where you have to import 600,000 Chinese people to save our colleges, and of course, this latest H-1B betrayal. So MAGA started basically subtweeting the president by quote tweeting this. So Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen says, nail this banger to the wall in the White House. That was more direct. Mike Lee, pass this along if you support the Charlie Kirk agenda. Charlie Kirk agenda, notice, not the Trump agenda anymore. The Charlie Kirk agenda. Jack Posobiec, quote tweets this, we should implement every step of this. Benny Johnson.
That's so weird. Jack Posobiec is one of the people I have in my Epstein segment trying to cover for Trump. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that weird?
Benny Johnson says Charlie Kirk was killed a few days after posting this. This was Charlie's final policy push to save America and signal to millennials, Gen Z, and Gen Alpha that we will fix what's broken so they can achieve the American dream. We were working on this together. The work continues. So I observed here, MAGA influencers will never come out and say they're done with Trump, but this is their way of signaling it. Right after Trump doubles down on H-1Bs and importing Chinese students to save elite colleges, they all circulate this old Kirk tweet. Not a coincidence. It's over. Yeah, Benny Johnson and Jack Posobiec are never going to call out Donald Trump by name. That is just too off-brand for them. So that's about the closest they can get to doing that, which is saying, hey, we're for the Charlie Kirk agenda. The fight for that agenda continues. The work continues. That's something you say at the end of a campaign. When you lose an election, the struggle continues. The fight continues. This is an admission. This is as close as you'll get from these people to a direct admission that MAGA is dead. And here the Patriotic Blonde puts it a little more squarely. MAGA is dead, assassinated by Trump and his Israeli interest. It was a psyop, and we fell for it. Yep, 100%. No time to grieve. We need to regroup. Where do we go from here? Evan Kilgore says the American dream is dead. Nobody is coming to save us. There is no fixing the decades of damage to our economy and culture. The sooner you all realize that, the better. And in comes Matt Walsh saying, you have to reject this kind of doomerism. I have 6 kids. The idea that the American dream is dead forever and there's no way to fix anything, and I'm supposed to just accept that and give up on my children's future is repulsive to me. I could never do that and will never do it. Once again, the fight continues. Again, as close as you'll get to a subtweet of fuck Donald Trump, he fucked us, and this movement is over. That's as close as you'll get. Benny Johnson chimes in to Matt Walsh. He says, the American dream is not dead. It is under extreme attack by our enemies. Always has been. Every generation has their battles. We need to expose the enemy and fight back with everything we have and save America for our children. Blackpilling is not helpful. Notice no mention of Donald Trump there. No, we have to rally behind our president. Nothing. Jack Posobiec put a poll out. Should America expand the H-1B program or focus on American workers? American workers, 96.1%. So this happened on Tuesday night, and then obviously the Epstein dump Wednesday morning. This was as brutal a week for MAGA as they have ever endured, coming off of a crushing election loss, given the tiniest of lifelines by the Democrats caving on the shutdown, but not really. And then, boom, this disastrous Laura Ingraham interview, which apparently came out in 2 parts, so it was 2 days of horrible news coverage. And then Epstein, this has just been brutal. And you saw a lot of people, I just showed you a couple, saying that this is the end of the movement. And it certainly felt that way yesterday. It certainly felt that way, and it especially feels that way when you look at just how incorrigible Donald Trump is in that interview and how incapable he is of any kind of introspection and course correction. He's just going to die on the hill of the Epstein files are a Democrat hoax. This is the best economy ever. Prices are down, and Americans aren't talented enough to work in a factory.
Yeah.
that is some message you got. That is some rallying cry. I mean, you couldn't do worse if you tried. It's almost like he wants to be forced to resign. Maybe he could resign, pardon himself, and spare himself whatever's coming if he does. Like, it's almost like he's trying to blow it. It's that bad.
I think it is just his personality in the context of actually governing. It's the kind of personality that lends itself well to a presidential campaign, because what did he really do? Insult people. He's good at that.
Right.
Right? That's not really good for a president if your main reaction to adversity is to never admit fault and to insult anybody who calls you
Right.
out. What happens when the American people start calling you out because you're not giving them these jobs? Well, now the American people are slobs that we can't give a factory job to, right? Because the American people, what are they talking about? I'm the best president ever. You know, you can't give these people jobs. They can barely spell.
Right.
That's it, man. That's it. That's who he is. As far as these influencers go, the Benny Johnsons, the Posobics, you know, they're out there the next day saying, why did the Democrats release the file? So they're fucking full of shit too. Why with the one and not the other? Well, it's an interesting indictment of the way they read the people who follow them. They seem to feel that you can bring these people along on defending fans of the playground more easily than you can bring them along on defending H-1B visas. Says a lot about the about the priorities of MAGA. That you know, and I will give them credit where credit is due. They've built a commercially successful enterprise in a very competitive space. So if that's how they read their audience, I'm going to concede the point. Your audience cares a lot more about H-1B visas than children being abused, shall we say.
That's right. Indeed. All right, folks, we'll take a quick game break from our dissident sponsor, John Coa. He's got an upcoming album. It's called A to Z, Songs from the Tape Deck. It's 34 tracks sequenced as a single work. We've debuted some of the tracks from this album, including his original song, Just a Little Off the Rails, his Bob Dylan cover, Not Dark Yet, and the Paul Simon cover, The Boy in the Bubble. So tracks land here first. We debut them as he sends them to us. Other tracks here include Angel in the Snow by Elliott Smith, Atlantic City by Bruce Springsteen, of course, The Beatles, Come Together, Bronny or Stomp by Led Zeppelin, classics like the Rolling Stones, Gimme Shelter, and Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah, as well as several different original songs. So you can go and check out John Coa's music at dudissidents.com/Coa. That'll get you links to his Apple Music, his Spotify page, as well as his YouTube channel. So please do go and check that out. Okay, let's take some super chats.
Movie MAGA Soul. Someone should check on Michael Tracy. Oh no, he's been out there. I use him today in one of the segments.
He's doing good.
Yes,
you can't shake that guy.
He's very. It's now. This is all like Russiagate.
Yeah,
it's just Russiagate now. Michael Ewan. Did you guys see intoxicating hemp ban that was snuck into the shutdown deal? $28.4 billion industry and 300,000 American jobs out the window. I did see that. Like, there was a lot of stuff that we just didn't have time to do today that I would have liked to have gotten to, like the way they stuck in $1 million payoff for 9 members of Congress to settle their lawsuit, their January 6th lawsuit. We just did not have time for it. Kuznetsky Bassane, super sticker, thank you. Take it or leave it reviews. Fellas, new AI jazz piece by Jeffrey Sachs.
I think Al Jazeera, that's what he means.
Oh. I like AI jazz.
AI jazz. Jeffrey Sachs, I got a new job writing
Trump
for this new magazine,
pushing
AI Jazz.
Israeli-crafted resolution at UNSC this week. Boom, 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 boom. to eliminate chance of state of Palestine. I'm sorry, I'm gonna laugh at that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds like something they do.
It's like it's just such a litany of horrors. Like really, we could have done 20 stories today.
Yeah.
There's just so much.
We chose the funniest because it's casual Black Sweater Thursday.
That's it. It's too late in the week to deal with like the settlers torching the village.
Yeah.
That's just too much. Ryan Spence, can we now refer to Megyn Kelly as Reagan Kelly or Stormfront Barbie? I think both of those are pretty good. Michael in Taiwan, as a Canadian, I could never understand why Americans tolerate a system that allows the government to shut down. Literally no other country does this. Hey, it's a Greek observation coming out of Greek tragedy. Pride goeth before a fall. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to be pretty fucking spectacular when this comes crashing down. That's going to be one of those things that people look at in hindsight and they're going to be amazed that it lasted as long as it did. Like it is such an inefficient, poorly managed country. It's people will be amazed in retrospect that it didn't collapse somewhere around like 1980.
Yeah, we have shutdowns like at least once a year. If not more than once a year. All right, RD&W. Today is our 14-year wedding anniversary. Shout out to my lovely wife, Lisa. Absolutely. Huzzah. Good job. Congratulations.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, my friend. Round of applause for RD&W in the chat. Eric Husso, glasses are cool. Athletes and Hollywood stars wear fake glasses. Xander Varkov, Trump, Ghislaine, you could use a razor to slice the garlic so thin that it liquefies the pan with just a little oil. It's a great system.
I did that bit when they
like
transferred her.
Yeah.
I made a video of that.
Vienticus Prime, fill in the blanks. Everything's a scam. Everything's a lie. Everything's hypocrisy. And so I don't comply. Very good, Vienticus. I appreciate that game. So instead of pushing it through academia, they're going to push it through magademia. That's right. Thank you, Vienticus. Good afternoon, gents. This Kit's Corner. Did you hear the Canadian government secretly approved cloned lab meat to sell commercially without proper labeling or proper testing? Consumers don't know the difference. Oh, wow.
Are you serious? Really?
Wow. That's creepy. Vienticus Prime says, I notice a large overlap between people who still point to Trump and say, I voted for this, and people who really love Israel. Like, really, really. Maybe it's just me.
Oh, no, you're right.
Well, yeah, because that's all they got left. It's like people who get off on torturing brown people and diehard Zionists. Like those are the only two who are left to support.
Right, like fucking infamous goblin Sid Rosenberg.
Right. During excessive wokeism, when people said, won't someone think of the children, MAGA took that the wrong way. Thank you, Nocturnal Human. Appreciate that. All right, let's move right on along to the Epstein story.
All right. The Oversight Committee ranking member, Robert Garcia here, revealed that they were releasing 23,000 documents from Epstein's attorneys. Now, to be clear, this is not the Epstein files. These are documents that they got from Epstein's attorneys that they released. So here's a little bit of his interview about that.
When did you get this information?
We actually just received all of these emails, with a total of about 23,000 documents, actually a few days ago, so last week, and we've been going through, our team, of course, through all of these very carefully over the last few days. We obviously released some today. We'll be releasing additional documents likely later today. The important thing here is that we know, and we've been demanding, that Donald Trump and the DOJ release the full Epstein files. In what's been released today, which obviously is some quite serious, I think, connections between what Donald Trump may have known. There's communication between Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, obviously making some claims about Donald Trump spending significant time, hours, with possibly one of the victims. There's also disturbing emails there about Trump and Jeffrey Epstein that people can read for themselves. I think what's important right now is that we want to know why Donald Trump spent the entire campaign saying that he would release the files. And now that he's in the White House, there is a massive cover-up going on. The survivors deserve the truth.
Okay, well, Donald Trump, in his quest for maximum transparency, answered questions about the Epstein file releases this way.
Can you respond to these Epstein emails that were released today? Well done, Mr. President. Great job.
Nothing to see here, folks.
Nope.
Nothing to see here. I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. So what's actually in these emails? Well, the things that have really been getting the most attention are this email written to GMAX. That was her email. GMAX1. Can't make it up. I want you to realize, this is from Epstein. I want you to realize that that dog that hasn't barked is Trump. Now, they redacted victim. It's claimed, I'm not sure that it's confirmed, but it seems like it is, that the victim is Ghislaine Maxwell. Spent hours.
No, you're talking about, I think you misspoke there. You meant Virginia Giuffre.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What did I say?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Yeah,
That would have been a confusing twist.
She was both victim and perpetrator, as is so often the case in abuse. No, I'm sorry, I meant Virginia Giuffre. Spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned. Police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. And she responded, that's Ghislaine Maxwell responded, I have been thinking about that. Another one that's been getting a lot of attention is, we're just going to assume that it's Giuffre. Again, I think that's pretty well confirmed. Giuffre Mar-a-Lago, Trump said he asked me to resign. Never a member ever. Of course, he knew about the girls as he asked Ghislaine to stop.
So, look, I know there are a lot of people who are obsessed with undermining the credibility of Virginia Giuffre. Let's just grant you that argument. Let's just say she's not credible. How do you explain that? He knew about the girls and asked Ghislaine to stop. The whole Virginia Giuffre thing is a red herring here. Why, people who want to take away from the significance of these leaks are pointing to the fact that she's had credibility issues. She says mental health issues, whatever. We could argue about that some other time. The point is, you have it right there in ink. Of course, he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. That's a smoking gun right there, that he, at the very least, was privy to all of this.
Well, of course. And that's, a lot of reporting has said that. Not that he was mad that he does it. He was mad he was recruiting girls out of Mar-a-Lago.
Out of my club.
That was what she was asking her to stop doing. Not to stop doing it in general.
In general, right.
And I think the general evidence points to the fact that Trump took part in it. I'm sorry. You don't hang around with a guy like Jeffrey Epstein for 20 years because he has good cognac.
Right.
I'm sorry. That's not the reason you would have, by all accounts, an exceptionally close relationship with a guy like that, unless you were sampling his wares, shall we say. Okay, so this was an exchange with Michael Wolff. So Wolff says, I hear CNN planning to ask Trump tonight about his relationship with you, either on air or in Scrum afterwards. For anyone who doesn't know, Michael Wolff is a reporter who wrote kind of a tell-all book about Trump, who's also done a lot of interviews claiming to have seen photographs of Trump with half-naked underage girls. So Epstein asked him if we were able to craft an answer for him. What do you think it should be? And Wolff responds, I think you should let him hang himself. If he says he hasn't been on the plane or to the house, then that gives you a valuable PR and political currency. You can hang him in a way that potentially generates a positive benefit for you. Or if it really looks like he could win, you could save him generating a debt. Of course, it is possible that when asked, he'll say Jeffrey is a great guy and has gotten a raw deal and is a victim of political correctness, which is to be outlawed in a Trump regime. All right, so this is in 2015 going into the 2016 election. Now, if you break this down, and now Wolff has been asked about this, He says he doesn't remember the exact context, but at this time he was kind of trying to get Jeffrey Epstein to come out and hang Trump by revealing what he knows about him. Now, we can't know, but presumably this is pretty much the tactic that Ghislaine Maxwell has taken. Hey, you don't want this stuff to come out, huh? Well, maybe you should move me to Club Fed and instruct the warden that I'm to be treated like it's the Four Seasons. So this is an exchange with a New York Times reporter. We're going to get into that a little bit more later. But Thomas Jr. Landon, that's weird, says, now everyone coming to me thinking I have juicy info on you and Trump because of this. And he has the infamous quote of Trump saying, "Hey, Jeffrey, he's a great guy. He likes women as much as I do, a little on the younger side." To which Epstein responds, "Would you like photos of Donald and girls in bikinis in my kitchen?" And he says, yes. Now, that sounds kind of like the pictures that Michael Wolff says he actually witnessed. He goes on, "I am a serious man. For the good of the nation, why not try to get some of this out there? I wouldn't do it myself, but would pass on to a political reporter." And then he pulls out a section from a BuzzFeed article. Plus, look at these lies. And this is Trump denying his relationship with Epstein, in which he told BuzzFeed his only connection with Epstein was that Mr. Epstein was one of thousands of people who has visited Mar-a-Lago. That's it. Mr. Trump has never been accused of having any involvement or even having any knowledge of any of Mr. Epstein's conduct by anyone. I don't think that was true in 2015. It's certainly not true now. So going on, this is an exchange. They didn't reveal who it was. It seems like a lawyer who was kind of feeling out Jeffrey Epstein on the legal team representing Jared Kushner, to which Epstein responded, "Your world," meaning the legal world, "does not understand how dumb he really is. He will blame everyone around him for bad results." Well, say what you will about Jeffrey Epstein. He kind of nailed it there. He would know, right? And then this is another exchange. Okay, so that makes more sense. Landon Thomas Jr., the financial reporter at the New York Times, has a very interesting exchange with him here, where he says, "Read the BuzzFeed, read my airplane logs and Hawaiian Tropic contest. Have them ask my houseman about Donald almost walking through the door, leaving his nose print on the glass as young women were swimming in the pool, and he was so focused he walked straight into the door." Now, we're going to do a little section about the coping and the seething on this, but here's one example from a couple of ladies with a Pick Me podcast. "Young women were swimming in Epstein's pool. Wow, what a shocker. Young women are attracted to wealth and power. They were not tied and chained in a room being forced to have sex because they were there willingly. Wait until you guys find out this still happens today in Miami." Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Nothing going on. I am sure they would have tweeted that out if it had been Bill Clinton named in that account.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. I'm sure they would have said exactly the same thing.
In Jeffrey Epstein's pool. Not like Leonardo DiCaprio, like not like,
sure.
like,
then
like
you
a famous
could say
womanizer.
like that.
Right. Not like George Clooney as girls are at. No, Jeffrey fucking Epstein, you say that about? Yeah.
Right. And what is Donald Trump doing there?
Yeah.
This one was pretty funny. "It's not just that he's a pedophile. He was the least popular pedophile." So this was an exchange with one of the Epstein victims, arranging for a meeting. 10 p.m. Should I bring special cake from New York? He gives her the gate code. Yes. She says, "I'm at the door, but I will wait for my time. I don't want to come early to find Trump in your house." So Even Epstein's victims were particularly avoidant of running into Donald Trump.
Trump was like he was like the Bill Maher of the group. Oh
Exactly.
yeah, I'll wait.
Oh,
I'm
no.
gonna wait till he leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like the Garfield assassin in Death by Lightning. Apparently, he joined a free love commune in Oneida where they wouldn't have sex with him. So here is an exchange with Larry Summers. So these are all people who you're supposed to respect, right? These guys, they make the rounds on the Sunday shows. This is long after Epstein is a convicted fan of the playground. Is 2017. And he said, but he tells Summers, recall, I've told you, I have met some very bad people, none as bad as Trump. Not one decent cell in his body. So yes, dangerous.
Just keeps getting
a lot of people who know him say that about him.
Yeah.
So DD Geopolitics
Imagine
lays
Jeffrey Epstein saying that about you, that you have
about
not
your-
one decent cell in your body.
Well, there's another email. I didn't include it for focus and brevity, but he says Alan Dershowitz is completely insane, that he's off his rocker. So here's DD Geopolitics. Newly released emails show Jeffrey Epstein telling Linda Stone on November 13th, 2016, just 5 days after Trump won the election, that he was at Trump Tower. This completely contradicts Trump's longstanding claim that he cut Epstein off in 2004-5 and had no contact with him afterwards. And thank you to DG Geopolitics for laying out the timeline here. 2006, Trump claims he banned Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. 2011 to 15, Epstein discusses Trump repeatedly in emails. 2016, Epstein emails from Trump Tower after Trump's win. 2017, victim writes, I don't want to come early and find Trump in your house. 2019, Epstein still referencing Trump and Mar-a-Lago. The narrative that Trump barely knew Epstein is collapsing in real time. More to come. And what he doesn't mention here is actually he claims to have been there on Thanksgiving, which we have that email. So this is one email here from November 13th, 2016, where he's asked by Linda Stone, just had a great time with Joy. You still in Paris? And he responds, Trump Tower. That is in 2016. And here in 2017, this is Thanksgiving, November 23rd. He's such a snooze. This is Kate Faith or Faith Cates. He's such a snooze. Who else is down there? David Fizzle, Hanson. I'm assuming she doesn't mean the band. He doesn't mean the band. That would be funny. Hanson's down there. Trump. She responds, have fun. Okay, so at least according to Epstein, no reason to lie, he's having a personal text exchange with somebody, right? Private exchange. November 23rd, 2017, he's president already. According to Epstein, he is partying with Trump on Thanksgiving. So here's Trump's response to all this. The Democrats are trying to bring up the Jeffrey Epstein hoax again because they'll do anything at all to deflect on how badly they've done on the shutdown and so many other subjects. Only a very bad or stupid Republican would fall into that trap. The Democrats cost our country $1.5 trillion with their recent antics of viciously closing our country, while at the same time putting many at risk, and they should pay a fair price. There should be no deflections to Epstein or anything else, and any Republicans involved should be focused only on opening up our country and fixing the massive damage caused by the Democrats. He's so upset he didn't even sign off with thank you for your attention to this matter.
No.
That is how upset the big guy is right now. Well, we can't be sure. But here's one Epstein survivor, Anuska DeGiorgio, commenting on Trump's denials and what the realities were that she experienced regarding Trump, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Epstein.
Donald Trump. Is it right through Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did, yes, and I met him on several occasions. Ghislaine Maxwell did introduce me to him, and she introduced me to him with a clear message of my being with him in the same way that she had trafficked me and brought me to Jeffrey Epstein.
And here is another victim, Maria Farmer, laying out how she had gone to the FBI twice, starting in 1996, and they knew exactly who she was talking about because she didn't know who Trump was. She described a businessman, and they knew that she was talking about Trump. They figured it out. And also talking about Trump says he was never at Epstein's offices. She describes having met him at Epstein's offices. So 60 Minutes can be a bitch about copyright. This is Australia, but we're going to assume, especially with Ellison, he probably doesn't like us. I hear we're on his list. So this will be audio only.
And his wife divorced, Ivana. He said, I inherited Trump and Ghislaine inherited Ivana. And so you'll see Ivana at the house a lot and you'll see Trump at the offices, but the twain will never cross. They'll never meet.
It was in Epstein's Manhattan office that Maria claims she had a disturbing encounter with the now president.
First time I met him was the night before I started my job. And Epstein said, I need you to come up to the offices. And I was like, it's 9 o'clock at night, you know, and I guess I'll just run up there. And he said, okay. So I get there and I'm all sweaty in running shorts. Donald Trump walks in and he was really strange. And he stood, you know, hovering and smirking, like all knowing, you know, like omniscient grin, like a Cheshire grin. So I went, I made like, I don't know, it was just an instinct. I made the ugliest face I could think of. And Epstein thought it was adorable. He walked out and he goes, oh, no, Maria, no, she's not here for you. Just like that. He emphasized, she's not here for you. He goes, come with me. And he escorts Trump. So here's Epstein's part. He escorts Trump into this other room. And Trump utters under his breath, he mutters, oh, I thought she was 16. And I thought that was just really weird. Like it was beyond locker room talk.
Maria says she never saw Trump behave inappropriately, and the White House has contested her version of events, insisting the president never visited Epstein's offices.
So when the White House says Donald Trump was never at Jeffrey Epstein's offices, is the president lying?
Oh, my heavens, yes. Yes, he's lying. Yes.
The friendship between Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein is well documented. For nearly 2 decades, they were well known as men about town. One, a notorious property developer, the other, a wealthy financier. They were often seen together at parties and events from New York to Florida. Trump was a passenger on Epstein's private jet, both alone and with his family. Epstein was even a guest at Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. And in 2002, he described Jeffrey Epstein as a terrific guy, telling a journalist that his friend was a lot of fun to be with and that he liked beautiful women, many on the younger side.
Okay.
Contacting
So then she went on about how she contacted the FBI twice, without result, obviously.
Contacting the FBI in 1996 and documenting it in her diary at the time.
And I just remember trying to explain to this man at the FBI that children are in severe danger. And so I told him, I said, listen, I'm calling to report an international pedophile and child porn ring. This is a federal crime.
And it wasn't only Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell she mentioned.
I said, and there's this businessman. I said, he's kind of cheesy. And I said, I can't remember if I described him as a game show host or used car salesman or something like that. But I said, he's a prominent businessman. He's a New York fixture. And they said, oh, Donald Trump. The FBI guessed based on that brief description that I was discussing Donald Trump.
Her complaint wasn't taken seriously then or in 2006 when she repeated her allegations to federal authorities who were finally investigating Jeffrey Epstein. So when President Trump vowed to get to the bottom of the Epstein saga, Maria was cynical.
I reported him because I knew he was part of this gang. I didn't know on what level. I just knew that he was very much a part of it.
And as you'll see, the president's reluctance to be transparent has, for the first time, turned his supporters against him.
Okay, well, that's a good segue into our next cope and seethe section. What do you want to do? You want to just keep going?
No, I mean, we could just stop for a second here. Just once again, you know, if you attach this fact pattern to anyone else, imagine what the reaction would be.
All these women are lying. These women
they're
are
all
lying. What is the motive? What is the motive for a woman like this to take the kind of risk, to take the kind of shit, to take the kind of heat? We've had our lives threatened. Can you imagine what kind of heat from these crackpots, weirdos, and freaks who worship Donald Trump you get when you come out and make an accusation like this? You gotta look over your shoulder for the rest of your lives. For the rest of your life, if you do this. Why would they lie about it?
Well, you have emails here. I mean, you have primary source emails from Epstein himself. You have the fact that they spent Thanksgiving together in 2017, which is significant because Donald Trump was president in 2017.
He's president. He's
so
still
now
hanging
you
out
have
with him.
him taking meetings with Epstein while he's in office, and this was way after he had already been a convicted sex offender. So yeah, no, I mean, these were absolutely devastating leaks. And yeah, we'll get into the next segment, a lot of the cope surrounding that. But I mean, this was just a devastating drop. And it's going to, I mean, now that they have the 218th vote to compel the DOJ to release the files, it's still a very uphill battle, but you could see the political momentum changing because now Mike Johnson is saying he's going to get a lot more defections than he originally thought, because at this point, what's the political advantage to backing Trump on this? There is none. There is none.
They are, we talked about this, unlike the Democrats, the Republicans are pretty ruthless about the pursuit of power. I do not think if the Republicans were saddled with a Joe Biden, they would not have gotten rid of him a year before the election in order to minimize the damage and to pump up whoever they chose. And they just wouldn't even have a Kamala. Like that wouldn't even happen.
No.
They're too determined to gain and hold power to do that.
Right.
When you apply that lens to Trump, they have to understand what Trump is going to cost them going into the midterms. And the more they never liked him to begin with, the more they feel like there is no price to pay with his base because his base has turned on him, the more they're going to want to push him out the door. Now, did they wind up in a position like the Democrats did when finally at the all too late date, they wanted to get rid of Biden? And at first he didn't want to go. And there were questions of how do you get him out if he's the president, he really doesn't want to go. If there's any asshole who is going to just tell them to all go fuck themselves and not leave, it's Trump. But I'd be surprised if in the next couple months, as the polls look dire, as they're looking at completely getting wiped out, as they're looking at super majorities in the Senate and the House for Democrats, as they very well probably will be looking at going into the summer, I'd be surprised if they don't start to try to figure out a way to get rid of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, they would. I went into this in the last segment regarding whatever it was, the Ingram interview. Like at this point, it is in their interest to negotiate an exit. Oh, he's old, he's sick, he can't do it, whatever. Because this is clearly going one way, the wrong way. I mean, now you got polls in Ohio showing Democrats winning Senate, governor, And we're a year out. I mean, this is going to get much worse, much worse. All of this aside, on healthcare alone, it's going to get much worse.
Total implosion.
You add this, you're talking about a potential real, historic, something we have not seen in decades in terms of a sweep in the midterms, because he's not only alienated the moderates with some extreme right-wing policies, he's also alienated the right-wingers with some more Mitt Romney-type centrist policies with the visa. He's run to the center on immigration in terms of visas, which pisses off the right-wing base, but he's also run to the right in terms of sicking ICE on brown people, and that turns off the normies. So, he's cut himself off at both ends here, where both the normie moderates and your diehard base are just not going to turn out for you. The normies are going to vote Democrat, and the base is going to stay home. And we haven't. That's irrespective of all this Epstein shit. This could be game over, as we can see. We can see. Yes, the more the Republicans stall and refuse to release the files, the more fodder it is for the Democrats over this next year going into the midterms. There's no way out of it that's a win. It's a loss no matter how you slice it.
I think the smartest thing they could do would be to get Woody Allen to direct an ad for them, starring Muriel Hemingway.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's move on to part 2. So just kind of set it up in terms of hey, we're talking about the Epstein release.
All right, so it's interesting. The Trump sycophants turned about the H-1B visa. That was a little too much for them to swallow. But they are still jumping out in front of the bullet when it comes to fans of the playground. It turns out that MAGA is much more offended by immigration than child rape. That doesn't bother them as much as H-1B visas do. So Nancy Mace, very, very often you see this, just like J.D. Vance, Steve Bannon, they peddle their ass as actual people from working class backgrounds to sell the priorities of the oligarchs that they work for. Nancy Mace, in very disgusting ways, uses her history as a survivor of assault to run cover for PDF files. That's what she does. Shame on the fake news for making this story about President Trump and not about Epstein's victims. So what if Epstein's victims were victims of President Trump? Isn't that about President Trump?
One of the emails, he literally says Trump is the dog that hasn't barked.
He's the dog that hasn't barked. He asked Ghislaine to stop. He's denied that he knows anything about it. He moved Ghislaine Maxwell to Club Fed, where apparently she's being treated like she's a guest at the Four Seasons. That doesn't bother you? That doesn't bother you? I thought you're this great advocate for victims. I mean, this is something they've tried to do from the beginning, Pam Bondi, with her whole Streetcar Named Desire bit. We will not do that to the victims.
Yeah. Well, it looks like she picked an awkward time to run for governor because she feels like she needs Trump's endorsement, but she also can't get on the wrong side of this. That's a tough place to be. Too bad.
So many of us never see justice. You mean like Epstein's victims, who were victimized partly by Jeffrey Epstein's buddy, Donald Trump? I stand with all survivors. I will never abandon you. Hold the line. It's kind of looking like you abandoned them, Nancy. It's got to look like you abandoned them. Somebody made this meme. Nancy Mace protects pedophiles. She should use that for her governor's race.
Yeah.
She should use that in our advertising.
It's a nice lawn sign.
Apparently there are more of them in MAGA than we realize, so that could actually be effective.
Right.
When the PDF file vote. Mila Joy, this was just incredibly regarded. The DOJ just released the transcripts and audio from the Assistant AG Todd Blanche's interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. The interview proves Trump had nothing to do with Epstein after word started spreading about Epstein's pedo ways. Just to be clear for anyone who doesn't know, Todd Blanche was literally Trump's personal attorney before he was placed at the DOJ. They had this interview very against norms and procedures without any representation from the victims. Without the attorneys of victims requested to be in the room to be part of that interview, they were not allowed to do it. As you went in there, denies that Trump, he didn't do anything, he didn't see anything, he never said anything, right? And immediately gets moved to Club Fed in violation of the Bureau of Prisons' own rules. Sex traffickers are not supposed to be moved to cushy minimum security facilities like that. So just to give you some backstory, so I answered, well, if notorious sex trafficker and Mossad legacy admission Ghislaine Maxwell says it while lobbying for a pardon from Trump, it's got to be true.
Yeah.
Melanie Stansberry. Trump is in the files, is a Democratic rep. Email from Epstein to Maxwell released by the estate and House Oversight today, to which Cat Turd responds, your lies don't work. How is that a lie? He is literally in the Epstein files. He is literally in the Epstein files. It's not a lie. Literally. This is what a base lizard brain level these people rely on for their following, right? Just say shit. Just say shit to people. Yeah, no.
Yeah, right.
That's it. Greg Gutfeld, seeing his whole career go up in smoke with this administration. This latest Epstein hoax. How is it a hoax?
How is it a hoax?
In what way is it a hoax? Reveals how absolutely unsalvageable the media is. They can't change. Oh, it's the media. It's the lamestream media again. The most cursory analysis of this latest dump easily debunked this mess. How so? How did it debunk it? They're claiming that they covered up the Giuffre thing because she had claimed that Trump hadn't done anything inappropriate. And listen, I will say that was stupid of them. She's deceased. There's no victim to protect at this point. It was dumb because it's a distraction. You gave them something to hang their hat on by saying, well, why didn't you reveal it was Virginia Giuffre? But they don't want to talk about the thousands of other things of which we've only shown a few that are not compromised by them unwisely redacting Virginia Giuffre's name.
Right. So just so everybody understands, the Epstein estate did not redact Giuffre's name. The Democrats on the committee took it upon themselves to redact that after they received the materials, which was idiotic because Democrats are fucking dumb, right? Democrats could always, fuck it up and snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. We railed about that for years. So, yeah, that was stupid because it gave them an excuse to say shit like this. But that has absolutely fuck all to do with Epstein saying Trump was the dog that barked. Of course, Trump knew about the girls. Like, that does not... That is completely irrelevant to the core of the matter.
Right. And the Democrats, like they do, gave them something to distract their dumber than dirt followers with. Exactly. They truly may be the most discredited industry in history. I'm starting to think the podcast bro is going to go down in history as the most discredited industry in history. Jack Posobiec.
Present company excluded.
Present company excluded. We're the best. Yeah. We're the best. We're the best ever. We're the best podcast bros ever. Jack Posobiec, what did I tell you? He comes out and rails against Trump on the H-1B visa. But when it comes to PDF files, I don't know, man. Do all of these people have like a cheerleading team in their basement? Like, what the fuck is it? This is the one thing. This is the one Rubicon they will not cross. Why didn't the Democrats release the full chain of emails with Epstein? We can't even see what the context is in this selectively edited email train. Okay, so then you support the full release of the Epstein files then? Because Daddy doesn't. Doesn't.
Exactly.
They've been doing everything possible to avoid. So why are you not saying here, release all the Epstein files? Why not? Because Daddy doesn't want them all released.
Once again, we went over this in another segment. Of course he knew about the girls. He asked Ghislaine to stop. That's from Jeffrey Epstein himself, saying, of course Trump knew about the girls.
All right. Now, if I didn't know better, if Michael Tracy were not the kind of guy that they would never want on that island, I would be thinking he was on that island at this point. These recurring Epstein bombshells are uncannily reminiscent of when everyone would freak out over Russiagate bombshells, except they never actually amounted to anything other than weird psychic gratification for people desperate for political entertainment. At this point, I really don't know what to make of it. I don't know what to make of it. I don't know if some of his paycheck comes from people who don't like this story. I don't really get that sense. I don't know if it's an Andy Kaufman troll. I suspect it seems like he's the kind of guy who just likes to take the contrary position, and then he just won't let it go. He just won't let it go. For whatever reason, on all of these issues, Michael Tracy, this is not just doing due diligence, doing journalism. If you look at the preponderance of everything that was just released, how on earth could you say it's just like Russiagate? Right. How on earth could you say something like that? This is not, you cannot make the argument, no, well, he's doing real journalism and not following the sensationalism. No, that is, at this point, that is willfully avoiding doing journalism on this story. I don't get it. I have no explanation for it. I don't know why Michael Tracy has decided to light his credibility on fire over the last few months around these particular issues.
Well, what he's doing is he's cherry picking the sensationalism. It's not that there's no sensationalism about Epstein. There is. There's sensationalism about everything, especially issues that are shrouded in mystery. There's sensationalism about 9/11. There's sensationalism about COVID, right? There's always sensationalism about stories that involve lots of hidden truths. That doesn't mean there are no hidden truths. It just means some people take things a little too far when it comes to speculation. And he seems to be cherry picking that because, once again, whatever you think about Virginia Giuffre, he says he knew about the girls. He's the one dog who hasn't barked. There's not a decent cell in his body. There's accounts of people going to Epstein's house saying, I don't want to meet Trump. So if he's there, I mean, like, how can you at this point say there's nothing
saying he's with him on Thanksgiving?
Right. Exactly. Like it's bizarre. Now look,
in 2017.
Yeah. Now Tracy does say he wants all the files released, to his credit, but at this point, if you're trying to make this about sensationalism, if you're basically trying to make this into Russiagate, you have to basically cherry pick out the sensationalism and ignore the preponderance of what is out there. And yeah, like this is actual evidence now. Like you have emails from Epstein himself saying Trump essentially knew.
Right.
What is that? Now you could say Trump didn't know of a specific act. Maybe Trump is not chargeable in a specific act because he didn't express direct knowledge of a specific act. But there's clearly overwhelming evidence at this point that Trump had a big picture view of who Epstein was and decided to cavort with him anyway. Right? At that point, you really got to be pretty naive to think that a guy like Donald Trump, a notorious coos hound his entire life, didn't get closer to that than he should have, if you know what I mean.
And why would this guy who attacks everybody, he attacks 10 people before lunch, whenever Ghislaine Maxwell is brought up, I wish her well. Right. I wish her well. Her boyfriend, he died. I wish everybody well. That moves her to a minimum security prison. Does that seem like Trump? Like, what would his motive be? Justice because she's innocent? Like, what are you arguing? What are you arguing? I don't get it.
Yeah, pretty bizarre stuff. All right, we have more. Why don't I just do a quick ad read before we do more, and then if we have some super chats, we can take them. We can take a quick break here. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about The Grifter's Bible, which is a mind-bending novel by L. Shabooms, and it's now a free weekly series on YouTube with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. Follow the First Electric Church of Jesus Christ as they combine the bleeding edge of black patented neuroscience with the state-of-the-art in Michigas to beat the Great Recession. They sell visions of God to the huddled masses of Deep Ellum, Texas, and the money pours in until the local competition, the police, and the U.S. Navy decides to put a stop to it. There's ass whoopings, car chases, and a showdown at high noon on Good Friday in Dodge City. It's sci-fi noir. It's a picaresque thriller. It's a Western from 10 minutes in the future. It's called The Grifter's Bible. It's a film series by L. Shabooms with a soundtrack by Monumental Sonic Architecture. New episodes are posted every Monday at the following link, youtube.com/@LShabooms, ELSHBOOMS. Booms. Go and subscribe and check it out every week. Dissidents who have followed it have given it good reviews. So please do go and check that out. YouTube.com/@ElShabooms. Okay. All right. Let's take some super chats.
Duke. Millraven. You guys should check out CRT OK contacts. You wear them while you sleep, and they reshape your corneas. I've worn them for over 20 years.
Interesting.
Okay. I mean, I don't generally need glasses. Like, I wear reading glasses up to a point. I usually don't wear them on the show for some reason today. I mean, we're dealing with a lot of small print today. But my eyes were definitely weak before the show for some reason. Jessica Mai, this is my own theory. Fuentes is made by Bannon. Dun, dun, dun. Brad Gilbert, a.k.a. we need China to build your digital prisons. You know, hopefully they don't digitally imprison me when I go over there. BG, H-1B military. My family is done catching bullets.
You want them to bring in another military.
JDE 6561. I had hope, but now that they have taken away our pennies, the horror.
That's right.
No more pennies. Yeah, no more pennies. Brad Gilbert, release the full files and see who was not guilty. Well, yeah, exactly. Release them, man. Yep. You know, some people are saying, including our friend the Motley Jew, that the Democrats will never allow them to be released because of Clinton. I have observed a kind of generational divide in this, and I think more and more the main body of Democrats are too young to have been on that island.
Right.
And I don't know that the Clintons have their fingers in the party the way they used to. It's moved on more to Obama world, and Obama wasn't on that island either. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if Clinton's cronies have the influence any more than Obama's people do. And I don't know how much they really care at this point if Clinton goes down.
Yeah, maybe worthwhile. TYT, Anna apologized to Aaron, says EO Shush, over Russiagate. Anna pushed it, Aaron debunked it, but no one covered Israeli gate collusion. Epstein explains why Bibi would want a reality game show host for president. That's right. That's right. And yes, obviously, Israel Gate was the big story there. Mr. Measy, Laura is getting me rock hard with this interview. Thank you, Mr. Measy. Eric Rousseau, Trump's America is not into BBWs anymore. America wants barely legal. That's right. Even the oldest profession will be taken over by AI and automation. Workers will be eliminated if not needed.
Yeah, right. that fucking Elon tweet of the Grok video was creepy as fuck. I kind of want to do a piece on it, actually.
Will there be tariffs on mail-order brides? Asking for a friend. Thank you. EO Shush says, yeah, let's kick out the Hispanics that do a lot of the jobs Americans don't want to do, but use H-1B visas to replace and undercut the wages of jobs Americans want that could provide a living wage. That's right. EO Shush says, shame on you, Keaton. Building missiles is so easy, even women can do it. Thank you. Vianticus Prime says, I quote myself all the time, but I'm a pretty big asshole. Thanks, Vianticus Prime. Appreciate that. EO Shush says the first Trump administration, Bibi's puppet was used to rip up the Iran deal and move the embassy. This administration was used to keep Bibi out of jail by attempting a fascist takeover, but seems to be failing. Yes, indeed. MAGA hasn't turned on Trump. Trump turned on MAGA. I declared MAGA dead 6 months ago. I knew this was coming. Check out my 100th episode of Beyond the Pale Saturday night on Rumble. Special guests. Yeah, I think I'm gonna join that one around 9 o'clock for a few minutes. I'll come say hello for your 100th episode. Congratulations, 100 episodes. See, it's all about just keeping it going. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Most podcasts don't make it past 7, so you're at 100. That's pretty good. Xander Varkov, it's astounding how short-sighted of a move it was for MAGA to grift off of the Epstein case, given their rather clear involvement of Trump. Yeah, exactly. Talk about like not having a long-term vision. No, it's all about this month's numbers, right? That's all. That's all about. You're as good as your last ratings there. Anna has apologized to Aaron. Now I've heard through reliable sources the Vanguard boys are en route to New York. Docuvan to serenade you too. Yeah, exactly.
They were
they don't owe us an apology. They don't owe us an apology. I mean, our channel took off largely because of them. We should be sending them thank you.
If they didn't suck so bad, we wouldn't be where we are
Yeah,
today.
we wouldn't have. Yeah, exactly. Put Biden and Trump in the balcony like two old farts on the Muppet Show. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. All right, let's keep it going.
All right, so it was not just Trump that was mentioned in these emails. We have a little bit of Clinton world here breaking. Jeffrey Epstein claims Hillary Clinton had a sexual relationship with former attorney Vince Foster. Foster committed suicide under mysterious conditions in 1993. For you youngins, you might not remember, man, but that was like the original QAnon theory.
Yeah.
The Vince Foster thing. Vince Foster was a longtime Clinton aide who died under mysterious circumstances, very much like our friend Jeffrey Epstein. If there's
funny,
any
I
pussy
never
that
dug
would kill
into
you,
that.
it's definitely the Hillary pussy. Would definitely take you out.
I never looked into the Vince Foster case that much. Not that it didn't interest me, but I would always, when I would argue about the Clintons with, her defenders back in 2015 and 2016, I would always tell them, like, look, whether you believe the Vince Foster conspiracy theory or not, you have to understand the official story of the death of Vince Foster is that Bill and Hillary were such evil scum that working
That
for
he
them
killed
drove
himself.
this guy to kill himself. That's the best possible face you could put on it for them. Is that they were such horrible people that he couldn't live with himself for having worked for them.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the guy. Eventually, he came out as the one who wrote it, the anonymous book that was Primary Colors. He originally wrote it anonymously. The film adaptation is actually pretty good. It was one of John Travolta's better roles doing the Clinton stand-in. And yeah, that was how they handled it. They made Kathy Bates the stand-in for Vince Foster and finding out what these people really are. So the guy, I can't remember who it actually was. I'm sure somebody in the chat will know. Who actually wrote Primary Colors. He was like part of the Clinton circle.
Yeah.
So presumably he would have known of what he was speaking.
But it wouldn't surprise me to know that she had a relationship with him. Like, have you ever heard the conspiracy theory? Or it's not. I mean, the theory about Hillary
Dick Morris.
Webster.
Is it Dick
Oh,
Morris?
Dick Morris is the guy. Yeah, Dick Morris is the journalist with the foot
Joe
fetish.
Klein. Joe Klein.
Okay.
That's who wrote Primary.
Well, there's the theory that Hillary had the relationship with Webster Hubbell, who was partners with her at the Rose Law Firm in the 70s, and then was assistant AG during the first Clinton administration.
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff there.
If you look at it, hold on, I just have to. So this is a picture of Chelsea and Webster Hubbell side by side. You tell me that's not that guy's daughter? Come on.
But she also looks like Bill Clinton.
I don't know, man. That looks like that looks like
come on,
father and daughter to me. Are you
yes,
kidding
but
me?
there's no resemblance to Bill Clinton.
Not as much. Not really. Not as much as this. No, what? No, I don't think so. I believe that one.
She
Anyway,
kind of
go
has
ahead.
his nose. I don't think she kind of has his nose.
I mean, she has this guy's everything. Nose. She got this guy's eyes,
maybe.
his cheeks, his
Maybe.
lips, everything. Yeah, I
Maybe.
believe it. I buy it.
It's like Ronan Farrow and Sinatra. That guy's definitely Sinatra.
Oh yeah, that's got.
Like that's not even a question.
No, it's not.
There is no way that Woody Allen produced that Adonis.
No, that kid was singing New York, New York out of the womb. Yeah, his first words were "Start spreading the news." That
guy. Newsbound White House counsel. Hillary doing naughties with Vince. So this is that is from Epstein in response to the question, what's the thumbnail on Nussbaum Foster? And here actually this kind of clears Bill Clinton. This is what Epstein said about him being on the island. You okay? These stories are complete and utter fantasy. I don't know and have never met Al Gore. Clinton was never on the island. The telephone book is not mine. It was stolen by my houseman that is currently in prison for doing so. So that's what he says in this email. That's up to you whether you want to believe it. But probably the more interesting one is the claim that Hillary was fucking Vince Foster. It would make sense. Again, DD geopolitics.
Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that Hillary was sucking and fucking Vince Foster. Why don't they ever tell? Why don't you talk about that? The fake news doesn't want to cover that. They just want to talk about me and Epstein.
I've heard she gave him the clap so bad he killed himself. All right. February 2017. In newly released emails, Jeffrey Epstein and Obama's deputy White House counsel, Kathy Rumler, exchanged remarks about Donald Trump, with both expressing open disdain. Rumler wrote, "Trump is so gross." Epstein replied, "Worse in real life and up close." Rumler, who later became Goldman Sachs' top lawyer, was previously revealed to have visited Epstein's private townhouse dozens of times after leaving the White House. Q, it's a big club and you ain't in it. Look at this. All these people are incestuously involved with this PDF file. This is years after Epstein is a convicted PDF file. And it's not a partisan thing. It's not, I am sure if you release the full files, there are going to be at least as many Democrat aligned people in them as Republicans. I mean, if anything, if your issue is that the Democrats are selectively releasing emails, as they very well might be, well, then you should get on board with the effort to release the full files. So that they can't do that. Why?
Right, you're giving them all the cards.
Issue?
Right, you're giving them all the power when you're just refusing to release anything, because then they decide what comes out and when. When they get their hands on something, they sit on it, they can curate it, and they can do what they want.
Yeah, so apparently this is how his friends talk about him behind his back. Kathy Rumler, "Trump is so gross." Epstein, "Worse in real life and up close." Rumler, "Hard to imagine. He really does remind me of MacGyver, and I am suffering PTSD." Epstein, "If he's MacGyver, are you Marla Maples?" Rumler, "No, I ranked much lower." Yeah, I mean, also something you get the sense of with these emails is nobody likes Donald Trump. Everybody kind of talks about him like the asshole that you have to deal with because he's there.
Right.
But nobody seems to have a good word to say about him ever. Like there's nobody in any of these emails, at least that we've seen so far, saying, he's a good guy, actually.
Right.
I kind of like him. No. And another one with Rumler. Again, this is someone from Obama world. Jeffrey Epstein, in an email to former Obama deputy counsel Kathy Rumler, suggested providing girls to a list of powerful figures, including Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, former CIA director William Burns, former UK Prime Minister Gordon Brown, former Norwegian PM Thorbjorn Jagland, that's the best I'm going to do with that, former Mongolian president, oh, Jesus Christ, you're kidding me, Sak Haiglan Elbegdorj, and officials from the UAE, India, and Qatar.
You don't know that? I thought that guy's your uncle, the Mongolian president.
We're all related. What, you think we're all related? What are you, stereotyping my Mongolian roots? So that's the email. We don't need to read through all that. And hey, again, Larry Summers, man. Larry Summers. Why is he palling around with this guy? This is 2019. John Schwartz observes, rightly, Larry Summers was 64 years old when he had this email exchange with Jeffrey Epstein. It truly goes to show that every human being, no matter their age, wealth, and power, is secretly an insecure 12-year-old. Well, I resemble that remark. Maybe if you're the kind of person who'd still be hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein in 2019. Right. So he lays out for this famous PDF file his dating drama. We talked on phone. Then I can't talk later. Don't think I can talk tomorrow. I said, "What are you up to?" She said, "I'm busy." I said, "Awfully coy you are." And then I said, "Did you really rearrange the weekend we were going to be together because guy number 3 was coming?" She said, "No, his schedule changed after we changed our plans." I said, "Okay, I got to go. Call me when you feel like it." Tone was not of good feeling. I don't want to be a gift-giving competition while being the friend without benefits. To which Epstein, with his sage wisdom about women, responds, "She's smart, making you pay for past errors. Ignore the daddy. I'm going to go out with the motorcycle guy. You reacted well. Annoyed shows caring. No whining showed strength." This just tells you a lot. That guys like Larry Summers, who are taken seriously, who are respected, who are invited to conferences, to every economic council, was president of Harvard, that he would go to a convicted PDF file clearly as kind of this sage about women.
Right.
Like his understanding of Jeffrey Epstein's history is that this guy knows about women. That's how he interprets it.
Right.
You are ruled by criminals, freaks, and PDF files. MAGA wasn't wrong. It's just that their focus was too limited.
Right.
This is the ruling class entirely. Trump was not in any way going to challenge that. He exploited your concern about it to get you to support him, but he's part of it. He was part of it. Peter Thiel, this doesn't surprise anybody. Joshua Reed Cole. I'm starting to understand why Peter Thiel has been visibly rotting over the last couple of years. He had an exchange with Jeffrey Epstein where Epstein says, "That was fun. See you in 3 weeks." What exactly could they be referring to? Ian Carroll tweets out, "Bannon is mentioned over 1,700 individual times throughout the text of these files."
Wow.
Isn't this a little weird? Am I missing something? Now, to be clear, I don't get the impression, at least from what's been revealed so far, that Bannon was involved in Epstein's crimes. But it is pretty clear that he was involved in trying to help Epstein to avoid public scrutiny for those crimes. We know that. He was advising Epstein he was acting as a media consultant, basically, for Epstein. Now, remember, these are the same people who love to jump up and down about bringing back Christian values and morality and bringing back America and the good people of the vote. They're all fucking criminals. They're all avaricious criminals. They think you're stupid, and in too many cases, they're right. And they understand what you want to hear, and they tell it to you. They're just on the grift. They're just on the grift. They're just looking for whatever opportunity they can to make money. When Bannon was asked about the 16 hours of video that he still has not released, by the way, from his interviews with Jeffrey Epstein, you could see how easily he went into the mold of trying to act like he's a champion for the people. Somebody asked him about it. He immediately goes to, "Yes, and we need to release those videos." Well, so why don't you?
Yeah.
So why don't you? I mean, it's amazing. How stupid could you be for him to be even able to get away with that trick?
Right.
Yes, we need to release the videos that I am in full possession of.
Right.
We need to see those. Wow. Okay. This is pretty fucking interesting, and we'll get into this a little bit more. So this is Landon Thomas Jr., that reporter from the New York Times, who was very friendly with Epstein, apparently. But, okay, so listen to what he says. "He is scaring the shit out of me now." He's talking about Trump. "He could well tank global economy. Can Barack talk sense to him anymore?" Don't get excited. Don't get excited. He's not referring to Obama. "Maybe it's time for you to jump in now, given how he is throwing caution to wind in such epic fashion. Why wouldn't he take your call? Give it a shot." Okay, so presumably he means Barack. "He feels alone and is nuts." This is Epstein now. "I told everyone from day one, evil beyond belief, mad, and most thought I was speaking metaphorically. It's obvious he could crack. Stormy Daniels, lies after lies after lies." Okay, so who is the Barack actually being referred to here? Epstein friend and billionaire, this is from Adam. Epstein friend and billionaire Tom Barack raised $107 million for Trump. This record-breaking amount was investigated as it is expected, foreign actors were offered access to Trump. Barack was acquitted, and Trump made him the U.S. ambassador to Turkey. In email, this Geopolitics Watch, in emails from 2016, current U.S. envoy to Syria and Lebanon, Tom Barack, requested photos of Jeffrey Epstein with a child and complimented the photo Epstein presumably sent him in a follow-up email. And you can see that right here under it. Send photos of you and child. Make me smile. He responds, hope you're good. Let's catch up. And then Epstein responds, hope you are well. Photos look good. FYI, I receive many calls a week about both Donald, Marla, beauty contest, Mar-a-Lago, etc., and Clinton from reporters, less so recently with Clinton, but my answers are always, I have nothing to say, or I try to ignore altogether. A few times I have been ambushed on the street with questions, but I'm more careful now. Okay, so this is the kind of person that Trump would give an ambassadorship to. This is a millionaire who gave him a lot of money, who asks Epstein for photos of him with a child. With a child. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Mel here lays out, I love that these Epstein New York Times emails leaked on the same day that Ms. Rachel posted the questions sent to her by the New York Times. The juxtaposition is absolutely perfect. If you're a convicted sexual predator with ties to Israeli intelligence, the New York Times goes out of its way to help you cover your ass. If you're a YouTuber in headbands and overalls who advocates for Palestinian children to not be blown up, the New York Times gives credence to evidence-free accusations that you might be a terrorist. Now, this is where this becomes the kind of story that a lot of chuds have a very hard time with. Yeah, everyone is complicit. Everyone is complicit. The media, there is no divided media. There is no divided ruling class. It is one criminal oligarchic class and the people who serve them. Anybody who thinks, oh, yeah, well, Fox News, they get down in the mud, but the New York Times, no, the New York Times, sure. So here's Thomas Landon Jr. has come up a few times in this. Here he is trying to help out Epstein, who's about to be investigated by a better reporter, presumably, than Landon. Keep getting calls from that guy doing a book on you, John Connolly. He seems very interested in your relationship with the news media. I told him you were a hell of a guy. One oddity, he said he had been told that quote from Trump about you in the original New York Magazine story had been manufactured, i.e. that I did not actually speak to Donald, which is bullshit, of course. I am sure that is what Trump told him, as they have been getting a lot of questions from reporters about you. He actually seemed to be a sensible guy, solid reporter, just from the few conversations I had with him. I think he is close to finishing up. Did you ever speak to him? And here's another one. He is digging around again. Not clear if it's another book or expanded paperback version. Was asking me all sorts of questions about why you hired Ken Starr. I told him I had no idea. I think he is doing some Trump-related digging too. Anyway, for what it's worth, so this is 2017. Again, long after Jeffrey Epstein, some of his crimes have been exposed. Here's a New York Times reporter in good standing helping him out, giving him a heads up. Hey, this reporter's been digging around, asking questions about you. Well, how do they deal with Ms. Rachel? By contrast. So she put this out on her Instagram. Real question from the New York Times. As you know, a group has suggested, albeit without evidence, that you are accepting money in order to further Hamas's agenda. Is that true? She answers, this accusation is not only absurd, it's patently false. And another one.
It's just amazing that they would ask her that.
It gets better. Last month, you condemned blocking food and water to children. There are some who argue that accusing Israel of doing this, some people say, the famous some people say, as well as citing certain casualty numbers, amounts to misinformation. How would you respond? She answers, I take my work with children and the way I utilize my platform very seriously. That is why I turn to the expertise of entities like the United Nations, as well as respected human rights organizations, including Israeli organizations. So yeah, little different treatment. Sean Podrick McCarthy. Strange moment where if you tried to fictionalize reality, people would think it's over the top. Quote, surely the elite don't give each other birthday cards about what great PDF files they are. A New York Times reporter wouldn't take it upon himself to warn a PDF file about other journalists. Indeed, but here we are. So those are some of the other things that come up in those files. Peter Thiel, Steve Bannon, some people from Obama world, Hillary possibly have an affair with Vince Foster. These people are all disgusting criminals, and they spend so much time, they spend so much money, they spend so much effort keeping us at each other's throats about nonsense. Called I'm Team Blue, I'm Team Red, because they know if the veil ever drops and the people really come together, they're through. They're through. That is why you are constantly bombarded. If you're older, through corporate media, if you're younger, through social media, you're constantly being bombarded with messages designed to manipulate you into thinking your neighbor is the cause of your problems, because these people, you cannot overstate it. It's not just a matter of disagreements on economic policy. It's not just a matter of them being rapacious and wanting to steal every last penny from the public pot that they can, although they are that too. They are fucking depraved. They are depraved. They have the kind of depravity that often comes with power. There's a long history of sexual degeneracy and aristocracy going together. And that is very much what these people are, in spite of whatever pretenses of democracy we might have. We're not a democracy. We are an oligarchy, and it shares many features with aristocracy. You have an unaccountable elite for whom, when you're at that level of power, when you're at that level of wealth, a lot of it is just boredom. A lot of people get into transgressing these taboos because they're bored. They're bored, as sick as that is. There's nothing else for them to do to keep themselves feeling like they're alive other than to do these kinds of sick, taboo crossing things. Like, how do you feel more powerful than all powerful? Well, by doing things like this. And it is not partisan. It is not partisan. Epstein's circle of friends was bipartisan and quite international.
Well, it's also a cult. I mean, it's also true that behavior within cults becomes more and more aberrant, because the more aberrant they get, the stronger they feel they are bound together by the cult. Right. The more we violate norms, the more reliant we are on each other not to turn on each other. That creates a bond between us. Right. And in terms of, like, just it being one big club, one thing you saw actually that I thought was really indicative of this is, Thomas Massey tweeting out about the 50-year mortgages. How is this different from you'll own nothing and be happy? Exactly.
Right.
So like the idea that the WEF corporatists and the sort of more maverick oriented oligarchs like Elon, the idea that they are really functionally different in a way that's meaningful to the ordinary person is nonsense, right? There's no real difference between Elon Musk and Bill Gates, right? The idea that they are really oppositional in a way that's meaningful to you. They're oppositional in the fact that they are vying for power each personally, right? But in a way that affects ordinary people, they may as well be the same, They may as well be the same because their agenda for all of us is the same, which is we will own nothing and be happy. Or in MAGA's case, you will own nothing and blame it on brown people. You'll own nothing and be angry. You'll own nothing and be aggrieved, right? To the extent that there's any difference there, that is it, right? It doesn't really extend beyond that in any meaningful way. And you can see that dynamic clear as day in the release of these files where everyone is implicated to an extent.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's roll right through to the last piece and then we'll take a pause.
Okay. So here's Mike Johnson with the impending end of the shutdown, forcing him into a position where he has to start trying to explain why exactly they are not releasing the Epstein files yet.
Say that you're for full transparency, so why not just urge all your Republicans to vote for this massive Connell bill on the Epstein files next week? Put out all the files. Let the American public judge for themselves what these files are all about.
Yeah, well, that answers pretty much every objection that the MAGA pod bros have been able to come up with. Like, it's very simple. Like, yeah, sure. I do think the Democrats are selectively releasing these emails. So why would you point that out and not call for the release of all the files? Because, of course, that's not what it's about for them.
Asking the question, we have been for maximum transparency of the Epstein files from the very beginning. What I was opposed to is the reckless disregard that was used in drafting the discharge petition. And we've been over this many times, but it was not drafted in such a way that it would adequately protect innocent victims. We have a responsibility to do that. There's as many as 1,000 women, by some estimates, of people who have been victimized because of the sex trafficking and Epstein and all these horrendous, heinous crimes, and we can't have them subjected to any further harm. So we wanted to make sure that they were properly, whose names were properly redacted out of the files. But the discharge petition is not only reckless, it is also a totally moot point. The Oversight Committee has been working, as you all know, around the clock, working on this. And you have some of the toughest members of Congress on the Republican and Democrat side who are working in bipartisan fashion to go through and release those files. As we stand here tonight, I think we're up to over 50,000 pages of records that are out in the open. You can go online tonight if you're at home and go through it yourself.
And almost all of those files were already publicly available through court records.
Right.
Trust me, bro. Not drafted the right way is DC code for our friends won't like what's in the files. Stop pretending process is the problem. So finally, Adelita Grijalva was seated. Indeed, she has been the long pending 218th vote.
What is most concerning is not what this administration has done, but what the majority in this body has failed to do. Hold Trump accountable as a co-equal branch of government that we are. It has been 50 days since the people of Arizona's 7th Congressional District elected me to represent them. 50 days that over 800,000 Arizonans have been left without access to the basic services that every constituent deserves. This is an abuse of power. One individual should not be able to unilaterally obstruct the swearing in of a duly elected member of Congress for political reasons.
Now, many people believe, with some reason, that she was not sworn in order to avoid that 218th vote. Johnson claimed it was because the government was shut down. We showed an interview with her where she said, no, there are many people who have been sworn in during government shutdowns. It's not actually an impediment. But with her swearing in, now the Trump administration got pretty desperate and started making some phone calls. Thomas Massey talks about this a little bit here.
And how many Republicans do you think will vote for this on the floor?
Well, I've already had a couple Republicans tell my office privately that they're going to vote for it. And I think that could snowball. The deal for Republicans on this vote is that Trump will protect you if you vote the wrong way. In other words, if you vote to cover up for pedophiles, you've got cover in a Republican primary. But I would remind my colleagues that this vote is going to be on your record for longer than Trump is going to be president. And what are you going to do in 2028 and 2030 when you're in a debate, either with a Republican or a Democrat, and they say, how can we trust you? You covered up for a pedophile back in 2025.
You could argue Trump's endorsement is a liability
And the goal
now.
for Thomas Massie then, Jake, is to get 70 House Republicans.
Yes. So they called in for whatever reason. They decided that Boebert was the weak link and called her in to a private meeting in the Situation Room. Carolyn Levitt was asked about this.
Because of Republicans and President Trump.
But given your interest in transparency, Caroline, why are White House officials then meeting with Representative Boebert in an effort to try and get her to not sign this petition calling for the release of the files?
Doesn't it show transparency that members of the Trump administration are willing to brief members of Congress whenever they please? Doesn't that show our level of transparency?
Nicely done.
Doesn't that show the level
Gotta give
of
you credit for
transparency
that
when
one.
we are willing to sit down with members of Congress and address their concerns?
We're willing to sit them down and say, you better help us cover up the Epstein files. That's transparency.
Having discussions with members of Congress about various issues, and I'm not going to detail conversations that took place in the Situation Room in the press briefing room. Reagan.
I mean, look, I will give her some that job. It's kind of like being a lawyer. You're being paid to be a professional liar. She's unflappable, man. She is unflappable. Like, you really need somebody who has no sense of dignity or shame in that job. And Carolyn Levitt has no dignity or no shame. Like, that is quite a pile of bullshit to sell to the American public. No, that is transparency. We're not strong-arming Lauren Boebert because we think that we have the best chance at changing her mind. We want to be transparent with her. We called her in for a briefing.
Yeah.
Called her in for a briefing. Yeah. This was a pretty funny response to this. Propagandoff. It fucking rocks that the release of the Epstein files, which may or may not confirm that the president of the United States is a PDF file, depends largely on a congresswoman who was documented giving some guy a hand job at a Beetlejuice musical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
God bless her. God bless her.
That was a great moment in American history, and I mean that sincerely. I think that was a warm, celebratory moment. I always appreciated that about her.
Well, me too. And if you've seen the musical, you can understand. It's a very hot musical.
Yeah.
Very sexy.
God forbid anybody have any fun anymore.
Yeah, Yeah. Her and Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah.
Jamie Raskin. Fresh from their 6-week paid vacation, Speaker Johnson finally swore in Congresswoman Adelita Grijalva. A majority of the House has now signed the discharge petition for full release of the Epstein files. Let's vote. And here's Massie with his unlikely bedfellow Ro Khanna. They've been working together on getting the files released for a while now.
I got to give credit to Lauren Boebert to walk into the White House, the center of power, the free world, really, and to sustain that and to come back out and to be solid, and also to Nancy Mace and Marjorie Taylor Greene. There was all the speculation that they might take their names off, and they never did. So it's not a hoax. It's not a moot point. It is a very serious thing. There are 1,000 victims, and there are survivors who have had a press conference with Ro Khanna and I, and that's what we're fighting for, justice for them.
Did y'all talk to them at any point during this, as the White House was making clear they were targeting these members?
I talked to them. I don't want to say which one I had this conversation with, but one of them was told, we can't let Massie have a win. How petty is that? I mean, this is more than about political wins. It's about getting transparency and justice, which, by the way, this administration promised. You have the Vice President, J.D. Vance, you have the AG, you have the FBI director. They've all done a 180 on this.
So the White House said to one of these members that they didn't want you to have a win here.
That's correct.
I mean,
He's got the win. Doesn't matter.
Right.
Doesn't matter.
He's taken the principled stand. And I don't care if Miriam Adelson gives them $800 trillion They are not knocking him out of that seat. And that's going to be another major blow to their credibility and to their ability to get the people with the real power not to just push Trump out the door. So Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted out after the vote, next week we will be voting to release the Epstein files. I honestly believe it's not only the right thing to do for the victims, but it's also the right thing to do for the country. Americans deserve transparency. Remember, Democrats had 4 years under Biden to release it all, but never even tried or cared. And listen, you got a lot of people who are using that almost as a non sequitur. It's like, yeah, that's true. And so we should release it, right? Like to use that as an argument to deflect from releasing the files is ridiculous. This is an honest case of pointing that out. I think that's a worthy thing to point out. Yeah. Are these Democrats completely hypocritical? Did they say anything about this when Biden was president? That's absolutely true. And that's a valid point to make as long as, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, you want to get these files released.
Right.
If you're trying to argue that as a deflection from getting them released, you're a fucking clown.
Yes.
Now, under full Republican control, there were only 4 Republicans that signed the discharge petition for the Massey resolution to release the Epstein files. Thomas Massey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, Lauren Boebert. Next week, when everyone is forced to go on record to vote to release the Epstein files, I expect the number of Republicans to be a lot higher that actually vote yes, and then we're all going to a production of Beetlejuice. No. Yeah. But remember the original 4. Yeah, man. You know, they stuck it out. Now it's clear the walls really are closing in this time. So it's yes, you're going to see more Republicans get on board with it next week. Everyone's expecting that. Even Johnson concedes you're going to get a lot more Republican votes. But man, they took that stand from the beginning when it wasn't clear that Trump's Teflon was not going to keep him protected in this particular case. And they took that position, as Massey always does. You know, let's not get it twisted. I do not agree with Massey's ideas about economics. His issue with the big, beautiful bill was really that it didn't cut social spending enough, right? That's who he is. But you know what? I'll have a debate and an argument with an uncorrupt libertarian. At least you're dealing with somebody who is actually honestly, sincerely coming from a place of belief in his principles. And with somebody like that, you can actually predict what they're going to do because they're going to act on those principles. So Massey, I mean, that's why he's unbendable. And that's why he's so popular, even with people like us who on most things would not agree with Thomas Massey.
Well, it's fascinating what you're seeing here, because what you're seeing here is a tipping point. And I think this is the tipping point.
Yes,
and you're going to see the scales really reverse from here on out. So when they call Boebert into a room and try and browbeat her into changing her vote, they're assuming that their endorsement, meaning the Trump White House, that their endorsement and their stamp of approval.
Before you go?
Yeah. They're assuming that their stamp of approval means something. Their stamp of approval means about as much as Trump's grip on the Republican base. Once Trump loses his grip on the Republican base, his endorsement doesn't mean anything. Once Trump becomes toxic to the Republican base, which is on the way to happening, his endorsement becomes toxic with it, which means you're going to see a point, and I think you're seeing the point right now, where people are not only not intimidated at the idea of losing Trump's support, they feel like they have to distance themselves from Trump. That's why Mike Johnson is expecting as many defectors as he is in the upcoming vote. Now, the way that presents itself in terms of actually getting these files released is as follows. It's a long and difficult process because this now has to clear 60 votes in the Senate. So you say, well, how's it going to do that? Well, again, the likelihood that Republicans will defect depends on how toxic the Trump brand is. So if you have mass defections in the House where Republicans are voting to release the files, at that point, momentum builds towards getting to 60 votes. If you get to 60 votes and Trump vetoes the bill, which he likely will, now you need 2/3 majority to override that veto, which again, the more you draw out this timeline, the worse and worse this looks. The closer and closer you get to the midterms next year, the more afraid Republicans are going to be, not of crossing Trump, but of standing by Donald Trump. So now you get to a 2/3 majority, override the veto. Now Pam Bondi has to decide whether or not she tells them to go fuck themselves, because what this does is compels the DOJ to do it. What happens if she just folds her arms and say, well, I'm not complying with this, right?
She very well might.
At that point, this is just becoming a bigger and bigger nightmare, assuming you don't get the files released in time for the midterms. Like, assuming Trump blocks you in every move, in every way he can, that creates bigger and bigger political headaches and makes the Trump brand more and more toxic. So I think what you saw here was the tipping of that scale, where they can't call Lauren Boebert into a room and get her to change her vote, because Lauren Boebert sees the writing on the wall that Trump is now a liability in Republican politics. And that's a first. That's a first. Yep. And that dynamic is going to get worse and worse and worse as the next year moves on. That's why I'm telling you not to, be doom and gloom, or not to be alarmist and not to change the subject too much. But 2026 is potentially a very scary year, because these people understand now that unless things get really abnormal, quote unquote, they are going to lose power. They're going to lose power. And you could be looking at a situation where, as the more and more toxic Trump becomes, the stronger and stronger the likelihood of a 25th Amendment type situation, of an impeachment with a conviction, 2/3. I mean, you're talking about this as a time bomb waiting to explode, plus people's healthcare costs doubling, plus inflation getting worse and worse and worse, plus Medicaid cuts coming. There's just no sign that this is going to turn around absent a mass disruption of American life. And this is the beginning of that period right now, which is why it's important, in all seriousness, for people to try and find common ground and unite on things that really matter. Because as you can see, these people at the end of the day are paper tigers if they don't have the people behind them. And that's what makes them terrified. And that's what makes them scary. But they're going to lose in the end. Obviously, you could see the writing on the wall now. MAGA is dead. It's over. It's a dead movement.
Yeah, it's a dead movement, but will the people behind them lose? I just had a tweet that, got some visibility, where I shared a chart of the top employers of SNAP recipients in Arkansas. Of course, Walmart is number one. You got McDonald's and Dollar General and, your usual suspects. And I cannot say, whenever you put something like that out on social media, there is nothing that brings out the broken peasant-minded people like something like that. So what do you want to tax them at? Oh, well, so what percentage of their workers really get? Most of them are probably part-time workers. How do they get like that? How do working people get programmed in such a way that their idea of how to assert a kind of pride and particularly, masculine power is to defend the wealthy? That takes a lot of fucking brainwashing. And you have to remember, social media is the best instrument for brainwashing people ever devised, because as the AI and the algorithm gets more and more sophisticated, it's getting better and better at curating your reality. So if you're the kind of person who has already been brainwashed into that, you're going to keep getting fed that kind of rage bait. You're going to keep getting fed the kinds of people who are going to keep reinforcing that. This makes it very difficult to see how you get out the other side without basically society burning down to the point that people are ready to consider the idea that they've been brainwashed.
Well,
People are so programmed to fight each other over tribal kind of points of honor that have nothing to do with improving the quality of their lives. They're so divided. They're so lacking in class consciousness. It's hard to see how you get out of it.
well,
You know,
I mean, you're talking about oligarchy. You're certainly not voting your way out of oligarchy. You can only organize your way out of oligarchy, right?
and it's hard to see how that organizing happens. It really, I'm not trying to be a doomer. I'm not trying to be a black pillar. But I don't think you can solve a problem without acknowledging what the problem is.
No, well, that's what I
it's
mean. Well, yeah, but this, I think, could potentially be a moment where, like, when you have, you know, an administration like this that has gone as mask off as this just implode in the way that it is. I think that is potentially a wake up call for a lot of people, because look at how many people got suckered into this just a year ago. Usually these things take a little time. You know, usually these things don't go to shit as quickly. Yeah.
That's helpful, but look at it in your segment where you saw what Benny Johnson is pushing and so on. They're just going to try to keep them within the same mindset without Trump. So the question of how people actually evolve into a place where this is not where they understand that nobody's coming to save them, and you have to organize along class lines. And I'm not putting that all on the right wing. I did a whole segment about how the DSA, you know, their fucking bright idea is they want to lead with bringing in trans youth for free gender medicine to New York City. Like that, there's that too. And that is another side of this brainwashing, where people have been brainwashed on the left into taking up these extremely unpopular cultural positions. And over time, I've come to believe that's a psyop too. That's so that people don't want to go and join people on the left. It is just hard when you look at how broken people are mentally, at how completely out of tune with reality they are. It's hard to see how you have to rebuild their whole way of looking at reality at this point. Like, and that's not a partisan thing. That's across society. That's society wide. You have a very mentally broken working class, a lot of which thinks it's middle class, but they're actually working class.
No, of course. Of course. Ravid Lass says, don't be surprised if Trump pulls a BB and takes the country to a massive, disastrous war to escape accountability. Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Jimmy Apple says, so we need foreign nationals to work in our weapon factories. That seems odd. That's right. Maybe Michael Tracy got a call from Miriam. I don't think so. I think that's how he is.
I don't think that's what it is. I don't get that
fella.
sense.
Eric Rousseau, leave Trump alone. Tiny hands needs tiny women. Ha ha. Good. Thank you, Eric Rousseau. David Hughes, thanks for the $10. Hey, from the UK, did you check your DMs for my Zionist Dawn parody trailer? Wolverines, Free Palestine. No, they redid the DMs. Well, they redid the DMs. I have to create a passcode or something, but I will check. Thank you, David Hughes. By the way, Russell, check your text messages. Vienticus Prime, Clinton certainly had his finger somewhere. Ha ha, rim shot. There you go. Thank you, David Hughes. Fire Dancer, Russ, rocking the glasses, looking good. Keaton, that's the sweater we were promised? Yes. Fucking try harder. Gee, I didn't promise you a sweater. I promised you a sweatshirt. I said I have a black sweatshirt, and I delivered.
That is fucked up, man.
That is what I said.
Fucked up. Try harder. Jesus.
Take a leaf out of the Dobular book. I'm an hour late again. I'm a moron. No, you're not a moron. But no, I said black sweater. That's what the black sweatshirt.
It's like these people think you don't even have feelings. You know?
Yeah, exactly. From a psych view, makes sense MAGA defends T versus Epstein, but slam him on H-1B. H-1B makes him a shitty politician, but if he's a fan of kids, MAGA has to question their judgment. Not good for the ego. Thank you, Freebie for Life. Appreciate that. Vianticus Prime, I've often said Trump argues with Biden over who should be the little spoon while Biden just tries to remember. Thank you. 3 Tom the Bomb says the only anti-pedo political party is the American Communist Party. The working class must bring these psychos to justice someday. Join the fight today. ACP.us. God bless New Dissidents. You guys are great. Thank you, 3 Tom the Bomb.
Thank you.
I tweeted out an anti-pedo party would be very popular nowadays. Probably saying on the way out of the womb, start spreading those legs. I'm leaving today. Ha ha, good one. The Anticus says, funny how people claim to want to get billionaires out of control of their government while getting all their information from billionaires. That's true. Thank you, the Anticus. Appreciate that. All right, let's take some super chats, please.
Okay. Interrobang 5000. I like that. Look up Ava Cordero 2007 and how media covered it. Okay.
You
know what that is, Keith?
No.
Brad Gilbert. No kings, more like no more naked emperors.
There you go.
All right. The Putrid Department. Putrid Department. The Putrid Department. There we go. Jelaine Maxwell. Donald J. Trump is the kindest, bravest, warmest, most wonderful human being I've ever known in my life. Did she actually say that? It wouldn't surprise me.
That wouldn't surprise me.
Lee Hawthorne. Breaking. Fetterman hospitalized. Heart issue, then faceplant outside home. Real. Is that true?
Is that true? Let me see.
Yeah, take a look.
Oh, yeah. Fetterman hospitalized after
Didn't
falling
happen
near
to a
home
nicer guy.
in Pennsylvania. Yeah. Well, we'll certainly hope for the best.
Yes. Derek P. RBN covered the Hillary Epstein story last night and confirmed my suspicions also that Nancy Reagan was the throat goat. Oh, yeah. There's a whole thing, Kurt would be a good person to run it down with. There was a whole scandal that broke with Reagan and sex parties and Nancy, and the person who really brought it to light died of a mysterious suicide. What do you know?
Interesting. All right, let's move right on along here. I'm going to skip ahead to my last one, and then I'll see if I have time for the other one, even though we moved that out of rotation a lot, but we'll see. Maybe we'll have to do it Sunday. It's not time sensitive, but this one is. All right, everybody. Oops, the kids are home. All right, everybody. Let's take a look at this clip from Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro went kind of viral last night. 10.2 million views. This was posted 4 days ago, but this is getting all the attention now because Tucker finally responded. Ben Shapiro sums up why his brand of conservatism is dying fast and why the populist left will steamroll any Republican parroting Shapiro's views. So here he is on trigonometry talking about affordability. Now, to put a little bit of context into this, the host, what's his name? Constantine and the other guy with the eyeglasses.
I always forget. Was it Oliver?
Oliver. He certainly looks like an Oliver. It's not an Oliver.
I'm wondering if it's just that he looks like.
Yeah, he gives major Oliver vibes for sure. But they were talking about the property values in New York City. So what Ben Shapiro is talking about here pertains to more than just New York. But the context here is he's talking about affordability in New York and what you should do if you can't afford to live somewhere. Maybe you should just pack up and leave because that's the American way.
Can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up. But the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about other places where you have better opportunities.
It's amazing how a guy who, every time people talk about how maybe we shouldn't send money that could be earmarked to help Americans to Israel, he says, how dare you say that? You're an anti-Semite. But no, if you can't afford to live in your hometown, maybe you should just leave. Like this is what the grapes of wrath. Like it's the night. Like it's the days of the frontier where you should have to relocate.
Back up the Model T, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. So the reason this went even more viral last night is because Tucker put out a response to this. So let's take a look at Tucker's response to this exact video.
Clip, I think that's been on the internet, and it's hard to know where to start with that clip. I think that's been on the internet, and people are experiencing gut level revulsion when they see it, and they really should. And there's so many ways to approach that. There's so many things wrong with those statements. So childish, those statements, so lacking an understanding of people or any connection really to the country at all. But really what you see underneath all of that is contempt for the people who live here. You have no right to live in the town where you were born just because your parents are buried there. Your ancestors built the town. Who do you think you are? Imagine feeling that way about someone in your own country. Imagine having that level of contempt for a fellow American. You don't even know anything about the person. It's young people. They're not entitled to live where they want. They'll live where BlackRock tells them they can live. It's like, whoa. If you had a thought like that, I've had some ugly thoughts. I just admitted having some ugly thoughts. Boy, I would try and push it back and not express it. Ben says it without any embarrassment because he means it.
Yeah, you know who also does? Just about like every right of center politician in America. Like, this is the other thing. Like, okay, like, great point, but is what Ben Shapiro is talking about, is that deviating at all from like conservative orthodoxy? Really? I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah, he's just saying it with less window dressing.
Right. Right. And it's especially hypocritical coming from a guy who's like the biggest advocate for an apartheid welfare state. Like, that's what makes him especially odious. Like, yeah, Shapiro is especially odious, which is why it brings it out of a guy like Tucker. But I mean, when you think a little bit deeper, really, this is just like mainstream conservative bootstrap shit.
That's exactly right, because he means it. Whew. I don't think that you can win a popular debate with that attitude, because...
Well, you can if you disguise it, right? You can't do it the way Shapiro just did it. You can if you dress it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Irrespective of the content of your sentence, people can feel the loathing that the speaker has for them. Ben Shapiro just does not care about you at all, is not even pretending to care about you. So again, it really doesn't matter what he's selling. That guy is not going to make the sale if people are free to buy whatever they want. It's like, I don't know what that guy's selling, but he doesn't like me. I can feel it right away. He doesn't care at all about me at all. And he thinks so little of me, he's not even going to like put on the dog. He's not even going to like try to pretend to care about me. And a guy like that, whew, he really needs censorship and bullying to succeed, because the free market does not reward a man like that at all, ever, because people don't like it. Why would they like it?
I mean, I might argue that the free market needs censorship and bullying to succeed, because actually what Shapiro is arguing here is for the free market. And you could substitute Ben Shapiro for the free market. So why doesn't Tucker say the free market doesn't care about you? Because that's true. The free market does not care about you. Right. And Tucker knows that. In fact, he has hinted in that direction with a lot of his commentary, as we will get into a little bit later. But the reason BlackRock determines where people live is not because of Ben Shapiro. It's because of the free market, quote unquote. Right. It's because people have not organized democratically to check the free market until just a couple weeks ago in New York City, where they made a tiny gesture in that direction, and it was enough to scare the shit out of most Republicans in America. So Mike Cernovich makes this point. Mike Cernovich tweets out, if we want Democrats to have a supermajority, then this is the message for the GOP to adopt. Tell people they need to move. Don't form family bonds. Worship the banks and big corporations. My goodness. Now, I hate to do this to you folks. I hate to actually feature Ayal Jacoby in a positive light, but he does catch Cernovich in the kind of hypocrisy that I was talking about. So Cernovich just 10 months ago says, if you can't afford a city, buy a house somewhere else. So this is Mike Cernovich in January of this year. Online young men, housing didn't keep pace with inflation. Me, buy a house outside of Des Moines with your laptop job. Them, what? I deserve to live in a big city. Call me a boomer, I don't care. The level of snobbery is off the charts from some of you. So see, it's the free market that is driving people out of their homes. And only when you organize against the free market do you have a chance of reversing that trend, as did happen in New York City. So I wanted to do this segment kind of anyway, but I figured this folds into this nicely. So the New York Post wrote an article after Mamdani's victory. New York City restaurateur cancels expansion plans following Zohran Mamdani victory. I'm not signing. New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani's radical policy proposals have prompted high-profile restaurateur Stratis Morfogen to cancel plans to open new businesses. He told Side Dish he's pulling the plug on 3 new establishments, including one in Midtown West. I waited for the election before signing, and now I'm not signing, he said. Just last week, Morfogen opened his first restaurant in Miami. The eatery, called Brooklyn Chop House Miami, boasts 400 seats and has a rooftop bar overlooking the skyline in the Moxie Hotel in Wynwood. I'm not signing any more leases in New York, Morfogen vowed. I'll keep what I have. We're not expanding in New York, but we are pursuing further opportunities in Miami and other cities. We just don't feel that this mayor is suitable to supporting small businesses. So in other words, you can't afford to operate in New York. What you're saying is you're not willing to pay a little bit more in taxes to afford in New York. So you can't afford to open your 4th, 5th, and 6th bullshit restaurant, as we'll get into. And so you have to leave, right? I mean, that's what he's saying.
The small business thing is very cute.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yes. So here's his small business, the best steakhouse in New York, right? The Brooklyn Chop House. Brooklyn Chop House, best steakhouse in New York with an online ordering menu that looks like DoorDash or Grubhub. Like, this is the tackiest shit you could think of. This guy's not a restaurateur. If he's a restaurateur, Colonel Sanders is Bobby Flay, right? I mean, this guy is not a restaurateur. Look at this. Bacon cheeseburger dumplings at a real steakhouse. Yeah, that's a real steakhouse item.
Yeah.
Bacon cheeseburger dumplings, chicken shumai dumplings. This is basically an Applebee's version of a steakhouse, but with very high-end rip-off steakhouse prices. Look at that. 48-ounce porterhouse for $290. That's more expensive than the Peter Luger steakhouse for $2, which that is a real New York institution. This is just a bullshit Times Square version of a high-end restaurant. But when this guy can't open 3 more locations of his bullshit rip-off, chain type restaurants, and he has to leave New York because he can't afford the taxes, right? Or the hostile business environment, the media prints that as if it's some great policy failing. That's not a policy failing. That's the people of New York deciding democratically, hey, you know what? It's more important to us that people are able to live as adults in the towns they were born in and not get priced out of them than it is for douchebags like this to open his 4th, 5th, and 6th restaurant. Like that's what that is. But the media will never cover this guy's inability to deal with the taxes and the red tape of opening more restaurants as a guy getting priced out by the market, because he's not getting priced out by the market. He is deciding it's not worth it for him to be here anymore. Why? Because the people organized democratically to decide, hey, you know what? We're going to prioritize affordability for the average person over the imperatives of the quote unquote free market, right? And you know who does understand this to an extent? One, Tucker Carlson. So this was a video that went viral years and years back. The divide between Tucker's vision of conservatism and Ben Shapiro's was evident 7 years ago. Here, Tucker essentially predicts Zohran Mamdani. So let's take a look.
Preserving the family. If the goal is preserving the family as the core building block of any successful society, and it's got to be that goal, because it has all kinds of effects that we want, and it's just inherently good. I don't need to explain it, but I could. But the point is, if that's the goal, what are you doing about it? If you wake up one morning and you find yourself in a society where 23-year-olds with 4-year college degrees and like initiative who aren't smoking weed every day, if they can't make enough to buy a car, much less a home, much less get married, much less have children, then why should you be surprised when half of them say they prefer socialism?
There you go.
You
answered your own question, right? So look, Tucker is 100% right in what he says about Ben Shapiro, and Ben Shapiro is an easy face to put on a policy to make it unpopular. But the problem runs a lot deeper than Ben Shapiro, and Tucker definitely has an understanding of that. And so I think what you got to do is take a moment like this, where a clip like that from Shapiro goes viral, and says, okay, well, what does the flip side of that actually look like? When a restaurateur gets priced out of New York, we don't frame it as this guy got priced out of New York and that's okay. We frame it as a policy failing. Oh, look how New York City failed this wonderful man who's trying to bring more restaurants and more opportunities and more leisure to New York City. And it's because of that government, the big bad government, that was too hard on him, that now he had to leave. And goddamn those socialists who drove him out. No, who you're calling the socialists, those are the people who decided, hey, you know what? If I was born in Brooklyn, I'd like to be able to live in Brooklyn. And this is a big problem, particularly in New York. Like, think about it. If you're born 100 miles out of Columbus, Ohio, you can pretty much expect that you'll be able to like stay there for your whole life if you want to, because your friends are from there, your families are from there, your church is there, your community, right? Whatever you've built around you is there. If you're born in New York City, you pretty much have to make $300,000 a year to afford to stay there as an adult, or else you got to leave, or else you'll be priced out. That's a big fucking problem. That's a big fucking problem. If you care about, as Tucker says, the things that the right in particular proclaims that they care so much about, which is family and community, right? And building those sorts of social units like that. So yeah, absolutely. Like what Tucker said was 100% right, but it's a lot bigger than Ben Shapiro.
Yeah. New York, when I do my weekly bike ride, honestly, what I think of, and not just in New York, traveling around the country too, but you really see it in New York. It's like vampires. It's like vampires waiting online to try the latest blood type that is available at the shop.
Right.
It is a lot of people who are living very well enough to have the disposable income and the leisure time to line up for whatever boba tea they saw on Instagram.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like lines down the block for shit like that.
Oh,
that
yeah.
People saw on Instagram. I see that all over whenever I take my bike ride. And this is happening in a country and in a city where we have the poorest district in America where Jose is running, where Richie Torres represents. That's the poorest district in America. You have that a few miles away from where these people are waiting online for a perfume sample, for the new slice place. Right? It really is just sucking the blood of the poor who make it, who serve it, which is an interesting question Shapiro doesn't seem to be considering.
Right.
These vampires really need blood to suck. If there are no workers who can afford to live here, who's going to wait on them the way that they like? You don't just see this in New York. You see it particularly in New York because you have such a concentration of wealth in New York. Even in St. Louis, there was that part of town. There was that, I think it was called Soulard. There was a little section there. And something that you'll find depressing if you really go around the country is how confident they are in their good taste and superiority, but how absolutely what a monoculture they have from coast to coast, how absolutely the same the tastes are from one end of the country to the other.
Right.
It's anywhere you go, it's some kind of Asian fusion thing. It's some kind of like half-assed retro coffee place with books on the wall that you can take down and read. It's anywhere you go, it's the same exact sensibility. It's the same sensibility, whether it's New York or whether it's in an upscale section of St. Louis. It's the same. They fetishize exactly the same things. And the kinds of things they fetishize are very vampiric in a country where so many people are suffering. It's very much, oh, yes. Have you tried those soufflés at the new place that opened from the chef who used to be downtown
Right,
at
right, right.
that pasta place? Oh, you have to try it. It's like fucking vampires. So what Ben Shapiro's saying is, well, if you're not a vampire, you shouldn't be there. Now,
Right.
again, he's not asking what the vampires are going to feed on if all of the victims leave.
Right.
But that's what he's explaining. And if you're a native New Yorker like me, like our friend Virtuoso, like Jose, it's been tragic to see New York turn into that because it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. Like you always had Wall Street is here. You always had those people. But part of what made New York so interesting was those people were just one part of a very diverse mosaic. Now the what I would call the Sex and the City culture, the consumer porn culture, that has really become the culture of New York, with the more interesting dynamic parts of New York kind of shoved under the surface and turned into a struggling, impoverished working class.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. All right. Let's move right on along here. I'll take some Rumble rants here. Eric Rousseau. Boebert just wanted the musical to have a happy ending. Ha ha. Good one. She was rooting for it. Thanks, Eric Rousseau.
Best comment section ever.
Best comment section ever. Check your phone again. Do me a favor. MTG, Mace, and Boebert are our government's Charlie's Angels, and Massey is Bosley. Ah, good one. Vienskis Prime. So the question I have is, how much is MTG building credibility and being groomed for the illustrious first woman president position? We will see. We will see. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I think she has a shot. It's going to be a very interesting primary, especially assuming that Trump implodes. It's going to be really interesting to see the Republican primary, too. It's going to be two very interesting primaries in 2028. Because if Trump implodes, it's going to be a real battle between like the Massey wing and Vance. And then on the Democrat side, obviously, you have a lot of tumult already. Thought experiment. Consider that society has been trained each new year to accept some untruth, considering how many years civilization has existed. Thank you, Vienticus Prime. Furls Queen says, hey, I know Keaton has feelings, but I'm one of the few who never mocked his hair. Even though I was tempted. I need credit for restraint. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Love you both, though. Thank you, Furls Queen. Appreciate that. All right, let's take some super chats.
31 Umber. Kai Trump is +4 through 4 holes. Is this DEI? Probably. I would suspect. Michael Castillo. Keaton, I sent you a sketch phone call of Jimmy and Mike. He does Jack Lemmon, young and old Al Pacino, and Mo Green. Check it out. Free Palestine. All right. I think I saw that in the inbox.
Oh, thank you. I will check that out. Thank you, Mike.
Andy Gardner, 26. Dear Keaton W., hope all is well. Glad we met up last Thanksgiving, and happy belated birthday. Please send photo of Russ with pizza.
Yeah, good one. It took me a minute there. I was like, what the hell are you talking about? And then I got it. Good. Well done. I like that.
Pete Sweet.
At first, I was like, what the hell is this guy saying? And then I got it. I was a little slow in the uptake, but well done.
Pete Sweet. Trump and Israeli Zionist lobby are being pushed into a corner. Beware of the trapped rat. Don't put anything past these ghouls. You are right about that, my friend. Marianne Cummings. This likely isn't about Trump or WJC, etc. personally. William J. Clinton, I assume you mean. This is about Epstein working on behalf of Mossad, handing Israel blackmail material to hijack US FP. What's FP?
Foreign policy.
Yeah, there we go. Explains why Dems didn't act either. I would agree. I think that a lot of the people who would be implicated are not in government anymore. And I think a lot of the people who are are in a position to benefit from getting those people out of the way.
Right.
Like
And
this could be what you might be seeing is like a generational rebellion where, these old dinosaurs have made it clear you're not getting their hands off the levers of power except over their cold, dead bodies. And some of the Kanas might be like, well, this is a way to get them out of the way.
oh,
Release
sure.
those files.
Sure. And, the reason why this did not come up during the Biden years is, yeah, obviously part of that is because the Democrats know that there's a lot that's going to come out against their party when these files are dropped. But also, the bigger part of why this never came up is because the Democrats' NPC brain dead lib base never raised the issue, because they're good boys and good girls.
They're good
So they
boys and
never
girls.
raised
Yep.
any kind of stink about it. Whereas the MAGA base is more ornery. They did. And so they ran up against management because they raised hell with management. The lib base was never going to raise hell, so it was just never going to happen. So the Democratic Party politicians were never going to feel any kind of pressure to release the Epstein files because their base doesn't even think in terms of that, right?
Well,
they have no
it's
critique
funny.
of that.
Well, the libs would love to have gone after it, but whenever they shared pictures of Trump and Epstein, people shared pictures of Clinton and Epstein, so then they didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction, right?
Exactly. So let me just say before we go into your segment, I don't know if she's watching. All right, so brilliant researcher Gen X girl did a piece on Michael Blake, who is one of several proxies that we believe is being set up to split the opposition to Torres. We were going to do it today, but with the Epstein thing taking up so much time, Keaton has pushed back his ICE piece, I think, for like 3 shows now. And it's really not fair to him to not do it today. So we will do the Michael Blake piece on Sunday.
Yeah, we'll definitely do that on Sunday. Plus, this deals with election results, so it's a little bit more time sensitive than the Michael Blake piece. But yeah, thanks, Gen X girl, of course, and we will definitely do it on Sunday, no doubt about it. All right, cool. Before we do our final segment of the day, we do want to shout out our members, our supporters. So thank you all very much for signing up. If you're not signed up to be a member, you can do so at dudissidents.com/Patreon//Substack or /locals. Membership starts at just $5 a month. You get bonus content in terms of film club live streams, post-game live streams with Q&A call-ins. You also get call-in access to every Q&A that we do every Sunday night after the main show over on Rumble. Not only that, you also get ad-free versions of every live stream replay emailed directly to your inbox the day after they air on the main platform. So if you want to watch a show back without ad interruption, you can do so by becoming a member. dudissidents.com/Patreon, /Substack, or /locals. Thank you all very much for your support. You are, of course, the backbone of the program. We're at 2943 on YouTube and X. In the year 2525. And of course, we are well past the 666 at 1109 in the like column. All right. Let's do some more super chats here while we are letting the good times scroll here, so you can pick it up at Mark Pugliese. I think I'm up to date on my Rumble rants.
Okay, Mark Pugliese. Russ, I used to work summers as a laborer, met all manner of anti-worker workers. I call them scabs. Dude, it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Oh, yeah.
Eric Torres. At this point, the only conclusion I keep arriving at is that this experiment is over. It terrifies me what that might entail. Yeah, I think a lot of people have that feeling right now.
Yep.
Brad Gilbert. Keaton will certainly hope for the best for us.
That's what I mean. Yeah, we're hoping for the best. We are hoping for the best.
And the putrid department. The Jelaine quote was from the original Manchurian Candidate. The guy who self-deleted involved with Reagan was Craig Spence. Wild story that ties into the Franklin scandal. Yeah, there was I read a whole article on that. I'm sure Kurt is like encyclopedic on that case.
Oh, yeah. See, that was a little before my time. So I don't know like the details on that. Vito says, excellent show. Cancer sucks. You all rock. Thank you, Vito. Appreciate that. $1 Million Trooper. Oh, sorry. Let me get that going here. All right. Says, hey, Ben, I enlisted in the Army out of NYC due to, among other things, affordability. And unlike you, spent a nice chunk of the next 23 years defending Israel's interests. Yeah, sounds like a win-win. Good point, $1 Million Trooper. If you're in the if you served in the military, turns out you did more for Israel than probably Ben Shapiro. Good point. Thank you very much for that. All right, folks, we have one more segment to do on the day. Smash that like button, everybody. Smash that subscribe button. Smash that follow button. All right. Here we go. All right, folks. So I want to talk a little bit more about these election results from last Tuesday. One thing that you'll notice is a total collapse amongst Republican support among non-white voters. Black voters, 92% in Virginia for Spanberger, 94% for Sherrill in New Jersey. And if you look at the Latino vote, 67-32 in Virginia and 68-31 in New Jersey. Trump won over 40% of the Latino vote in 2024, and you saw a complete collapse in support on Tuesday. So, in response, Latino voter shifts in Tuesday's elections alarm some Republicans. Oh, really? Oh, has it? Republicans have spent a year cheering President Donald Trump's gains among Latino voters in November 2024. Now, Democrats' big wins among Latino voters this week have some Republicans sounding the alarm. This is a wake-up call for the GOP. Representative Maria Salazar from Florida, a Republican, told NBC News. In the New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial contests, 2/3 of Latino voters supported the Democratic candidates. That support was especially pronounced in New Jersey, where Latino voters made up 10% of the electorate. Democratic Representative Mikey Sherrill won big in areas of the state with sizable Latino populations as she beat Republican Jack Ciattarelli by 13 points and reversed some of Trump's gains in New Jersey. So if you look at this, and Russell has cited this too in some tweets, and I put this out in a tweet, this is pretty incredible. This is pretty off the charts. How Sherrill fared in municipalities that are at least 60% Hispanic. So if you look at Union City at the top of the list, Kamala Harris won Union City by 17 points in 2024. Sherrill won it by 69.
Jesus
in
Christ.
2025. A more than 50-point swing. Like, you don't see this in politics, really.
Wow.
In 2024, Perth Amboy, Kamala by 9, Sherrill by 56. West New York, Kamala by 13, Sherrill by 57. Passaic County, which is a heavily Latino county that Trump actually flipped in 2024 by 7 points, that went to Sherrill by 26. And one of the things that's amazing about this is you see how dramatic the shift towards the Democrats was in 2025. That's how dramatic the shift towards Republicans was from 2021. Because if you look in Union City, the Democrat governor won it by 70 in 2021, and Trump only lost by 17. So, like, you have these massive swing toward the Republicans, and then it was completely wiped out by just unbelievable swings away from the GOP among Latino voters. I wonder why that is. We'll get into that a little bit. Some Republicans, including Speaker Mike Johnson from Louisiana, dismissed concerns about Latino voter shifts when pressed by NBC News. I do believe that the Democratic shift that we were able to see and experience in the 2024 election will hold. Johnson told reporters, will hold. Well, it did not hold. But other Republicans say their party should pay attention to Latino voters' shift toward Democrats on Tuesday as the Trump administration ramps up immigrant detentions and deportations. When asked how Trump's immigration agenda is playing in Latino communities, Representative Carlos Jimenez from Florida told NBC News, "I'd be less than honest if I told you, no, everything's great. There are some things that we need to change and have a course correction with in regards to immigration," Jimenez added. "Everybody's in favor of gang members, criminals, etc. being deported and all that. Not too many people are in favor of grandmothers and caregivers and all that, falling under the same umbrella. That's the course correction. Oh, is it? Well, here's Exhibit A. ICE violently tackles man with special needs for being non-compliant. Agents claim he refused to answer questions. Neighbors say he is nonverbal autistic. I love how, MAGA is so terrified of autism. They have such empathy for autistic people. It seems like every week we're hearing about another autistic child being mixed up in an immigration raid, or in this case, a guy who's being non-compliant. The guy is clearly nonverbal, as you can see. So this is upsetting video. It's not graphic or bloody or anything, but it is upsetting as you see ICE treating this guy like he just robbed a bank when clearly he has no idea what's going on and no way of communicating to them that he doesn't understand what's happening.
Fucking pussy ass bitches. If y'all have the balls to capture someone with a mask, take it off.
Like this guy clearly, I'm not saying this to be mean, obviously, he has a disability. He has the presence of mind of a child. This would be like doing this to a child, like mentally. And he's clearly unaware of what's going on. He's not aggressive at all. Look at it. Guns, masks. So they're calling that guy non-compliant. Non-compliant. Pretty unbelievable. Now, this is a less violent scene, but equally upsetting and equally outrageous in a lot of ways. Here's ICE agents caught on video beating U.S. citizens in Evanston, Illinois. One ICE agent has a man zip-tied and pinned to the ground, repeatedly punching him in the head while pressing his face into the pavement. This isn't law enforcement, it's brutality. This is disturbing, unlawful, and unacceptable behavior from federal officers operating in our communities. Here's ICE zip-tying a landscaper who's an American citizen.
This is what they're doing right in Evanston. People who are working hard, like immigrants, the weakest, right? They definitely don't feel ashamed of what they're doing, because clearly all those masks are just for nothing. ¿Tú tienes, ya llamaste? Yeah?
American citizens. American citizen.
This is absurd.
So this is a guy just working as a landscaper, as a brown person. And so, like, you look at the Latino vote, and because of course what the line is out of MAGA is, well, it's not because they're Latino, it's because they're here illegally. Well, okay, if you are going to zip tie a landscaper who's an American citizen and keep him in custody, essentially take away his freedom until he can prove who he is, then yeah, that is about as obvious an example of racial profiling as you can get.
Absolutely absurd, right? This is what America has come to. We're taking like people who are working, like hardworking people, hardworking Americans, like sitting here and working.
I am American citizen.
Okay, this is what is happening. This is what America has become. This Gestapo state. Okay, this is it. These are the guys. These are the big American, kind of safety guys that are taking people, right? The big bad immigrants, the big bad, kind of criminals. The guy working next to my house. Okay, yeah, this is it.
Oh, now they pat him on the back. They say, you're good. You're good. Never mind.
So why'd you put him in handcuffs?
A guy who's just out
working. This is a big misunderstanding. Let's take away the people who are working hard in our country.
Misunderstanding. I mean, a guy is out doing his job, and you actually put him in zip-tied cuffs until he can prove to you who he is, that's an American citizen with rights. He should sue the shit out of the government for doing that. Like, if that's not profiling, what is? You can't have shit like this go on and then be surprised that Latinos swung against you by 50 points, because that's not even about immigration.
Right.
That's an American citizen who's just rousted. Another example of this is great. This is a nice guy knocks on the door of this car and asks this guy if he's a citizen without a warrant, meaning he just felt like interrogating this guy out of nowhere.
Hey, why are you opening the door for? Why open? Why? Do you have a warrant? What's your name? Can I have your name and badge number, please? Sierra 327. What's your name? Sierra 327. Well, your name? You don't need my name. All right, you don't need my name either. Yeah, I do. For what reason? I'm just asking. Yeah, I mean, I'm asking too, man.
I'm just asking you if you are an American citizen. Well, you tell me. You're the one with the badge. You're the one who's supposed to have a warrant to come and knock on my door or bang on my car. Like, what are you talking about? So this is what they're doing. They're going around just saying, are you an American citizen? Tell me that's not overt race-based discrimination. Of course it is. Obviously. And then the guy asks his name. He gives him his number. I don't have to tell you my name. Well, then he doesn't have to tell you his name either. If you don't have a warrant, he doesn't have to say anything to you. What right do you have to just open this guy's door and ask if he's an American citizen?
Well, your name?
You don't need my name.
All right, you don't need my name either.
Yeah, I do.
For what reason?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking too, man.
Where were you born?
Hey,
and look, they take the other guy out.
Taking him?
Where were you born?
I was born here, buddy.
You were born here?
Yeah, fuck out of my way. Hey.
Yeah, get the fuck out of my way. Exactly. Like, I was born here. Like, what do you mean, where were you born? Like, that's just fucking outrageous.
Yeah, I do.
And they take the other guy away. They're probably doing to the other guy what they did to the landscaper in the previous video.
Too, man.
Where were you born?
Hey, where you taking him?
Where were you born?
I was born here, buddy.
You were born here?
Yeah, fuck out of my way. Hey.
Yeah, where were you born? I was born here. Like, on what basis are you asking me that? Do you have any evidence that I'm an illegal immigrant, that I'm not supposed to be here? Or is it just because we're a couple of brown guys sitting in a car, you figure you will come and harass us and ask for our papers, and if we don't show them, then we're going to put you in cuffs? Like, it's incredible. So when people said, because, this is something, and, MAGA played fast and loose with this for a while. Oh, no, we're not racist. It's just we don't want illegal immigrants coming here to take jobs. Okay, so then explain those videos to me. So here's this kid who's talking at a city council meeting, begging for help from his local municipalities because he feels like it's not safe for his parents to be walking around outside.
I'm scared for my parents to walk out their house because I might not be able to say goodbye to them if they go to work. I might not ever be able to say bye or see them again if you guys don't side with us. And I'm scared because of it, because they fought so hard to come here and choose a life for their kids. And I really hope you guys do hear what everyone in this room has been saying, and I hope you guys do side with us, because we are fighting for our rights. And we are getting treated like animals because people judge us by the color of our skin and the way that we talk. And we have a president that acts like a child and doesn't side with us because of the way he thinks about us. And we have a police department that doesn't do anything about us, and that we are here fighting more than they are. So I hope that you guys actually do hear what everyone in this center is hearing or talking about, so you guys can side with us and listen to what everyone's saying, because everyone is scared. I'm scared that I'm never going to be able to see all my friends again. I'm scared that their parents are going to be gone one day. I'm scared that all of us are going to have to fend for ourselves. I'm scared that one day at school that I'm going to get held by people that I don't know, people that are covered, people that I can't identify because they wear masks and they don't properly ID themselves. I'm scared that everyone that I love I'm not going to be able to see them again, because even though that they're U.S. citizens, they don't care about us. They treat us like dogs. They treat us like animals. No one here no one here cares about us because of the color of our skin. So I'm asking you guys, every single one of you guys that are sitting up here, to actually hear us and do something about it, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of telling my mom and dad every day after school that, have you seen the new video of ICE pulling someone over because of the color of their skin? I'm tired of everything. And I hope you guys really do something about it, because I really do want something to change, because I should not live like this as a 16-year-old. I shouldn't be scared. I should be focusing on school when I can't even focus on school.
Yeah, a heartbreaking.
Where was that?
I don't know. It was a city council meeting somewhere. I'm not sure what the location was. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if this says it here. I'm not sure. Could be suburbs of Chicago somewhere. But yeah, no, I know the reaction from a lot of people is going to be like, this is a hysterical kid who's being dramatic. No, we don't pull you over because of the color of your skin. Okay, so what's this? Are you an American citizen?
Do you have a warrant?
If he's asking you if he's an American citizen, that means the only reason he is harassing you is because of the color of your skin, because he suspects, based on the fact that you're a brown person, that you're not an American citizen. If you're putting a guy in zip ties who's just doing his job as a landscaper who is an American citizen, then yeah, you are harassing people based on the color of their skin. And if you really want to convince people that no, this is not race-based at all, then maybe you shouldn't have members of Congress go to Halloween parties like this, where Lauren Boebert decided to dress up as a racist for Halloween. She wore a Mexican dress, sombrero, and sign that read, Mexican word of the day, juicy. Tell me if juicy ice coming. Get it? What a sense of humor. Hilarious, right? UC, juicy. Ha, ha, ha. The sign mocks Latino's pronunciation of the word UC. Her date was dressed as an ICE agent. Yeah, so if you get a closer look, that's her sign there. Mexican word of the day, juicy. Tell me if juicy ice coming. And then that's her date there on the left-hand side, dressed as an ICE agent. So you're going to tell me that this isn't race-based? And then you're going to wonder, based on all of this, why you saw results like this. It's almost impossible to fuck up badly enough to see swings like that. 50 points in 1 year. 1 year. The previous swing was over a period of 3 years because Biden was so horrible, right? But you're talking about in 1 year? 1 year you generate a 50-point swing? That is why. That is why. And it wasn't just Latinos. It's the non-white vote in general. You think painting yourself in blackface for Halloween and imitating black people running out of food stamps, you think that's a way not to drive black voters back into the arms of the Democratic Party? Trump won black men by over 20 points. Look at that. It was a rout. You think raising almost $1 million for a woman who calls a black child the N-word on a playground, you think raising $1 million on Give, Send, Go for that woman and having influencers like Matt Walsh brag about it, saying that he's glad she raised that money, you don't think that leads to results like this? What you're seeing here, and I'll put a shameless plug because I wrote this article on Substack yesterday, is a revival of the Obama coalition. That is the Obama coalition. The Obama coalition was young people, women, Latinos, blacks, Asians. And Trump was very successful throughout his 3 presidential runs in chipping away at that coalition, and until in 2024, it was finally rendered dead, obsolete, a thing of the past. A real opportunity to redraw the political map in terms of the demographic makeup of the two parties, where Trump got over 40% of Latinos in 2024. And with all this shit, and I'm showing you what is essentially YouTube safe, but you can look on X, and we'll show more of it in the coming days and weeks. Obviously, we cover ICE as often as we can. What you're seeing is, how these people were so arrogant that they thought they could just go mask off with no consequence. It's almost like the Trump movement thought that they could defend against any accusations of racism by saying, well, what do you mean we're racist? We won 40% of the Latino vote. What do you mean we're racist? We won a lot of the black vote. They took that 2024 vote as license to be as mask off as they want. Never considering, what happens when people get to vote again? What happens when people actually get a taste of this? What happens when we start knocking on Latino people's car doors at random and asking them if they're an American citizen? And by we, I mean guys with fucking machine guns and masks and military garb. Like, what did you think the result of this was going to be? It's incredibly arrogant. It's incredibly arrogant, but, you know, the old saying, the pride cometh before the fall.
Yeah, it was the success that they had with those groups, I think, was partly that the Democrats did such a good job painting themselves and presenting themselves as very extreme on cultural issues that, in spite of what you might have heard, a lot of people actually do vote on those things. A lot of people actually do care. A lot of people from these Latin countries, Asian countries, they're pretty conservative about a lot of these kinds of issues. That was part of it. Part of it was you have a long history of immigrants and immigrant descended people pulling up the ladder behind them, because who's going to compete for their jobs? If they're recent immigrants, they're probably working the kinds of jobs where they're very vulnerable to illegal labor. So I think a lot of them were like, well, that'll be good. Yeah, get no more of them coming. I think a lot of them did not think through what that would look like, right? Because for it to impact the labor market, it would have to go beyond criminals and gang members, right? It's going to have to go beyond that. What was that actually going to look like in practice? I think some people didn't think about that. As far as MAGA goes, you know, very much like whenever they get in charge, the Democrats live down to the worst stereotypes of liberals: effete, out of touch with reality, condescending. This is a case of living down to the worst cliche of what the MAGA voters would be: stupid and racist. Like, that's as soon as they got into power, they went right to the bottom. Shiloh Hendricks, that was a great example. Like, what are you trying to convey by giving $1 million to a fucking racist prostitute? Now, I will grant you, it's not just racist prostitutes. Nobody's ever said about Melania that she's a racist, and they adore her too. So MAGA does have a weakness for prostitutes in general.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
In general, they have an affection for them. But yeah, you know, and I think for a lot of us, ourselves included, who were saying, no, you know, the way the Democrats beat up on the white working class and just say that they're racist, it's not true. And, you know, I would still say that about most people.
Yeah.
But we never said that is not a big portion of Trump's base. But I think the revelation after he got elected was, you know, it's a bigger portion, certainly, than I thought it was. Because even the MAGA people who don't lead with it don't push back against it.
Right.
Right? Like, as soon as you didn't see a big debate erupt, like, why the fuck are you giving money to some racist prostitute? Why are you giving money? Why are you making a statue of a black woman in Times Square, a place you've never seen and are never gonna see, have never set foot in, something you want to talk about for 2 weeks? What is that saying? You didn't see any of that. So even the people who didn't lead with that kind of basically went along with it. Like, all the worst things people thought about MAGA were proven very quickly to be true once they got power.
Well,
And yes, as you say, the arrogance of it. Like, there's never going to be another election.
Right.
You guys can just let your freak flag fly, no consequences.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, no foresight whatsoever. And what you see is, like, a lot of people who didn't lead with it, they didn't lead with it because they were not in power yet, and they wanted to sort of suppress that shit until they got into power.
Right.
So they were very shrewd enough not to lead with that. And then as soon as they take power, boom.
Yep.
DEI halftime show, right? That gets trending 2 weeks after Trump takes office. All of a sudden, because Kendrick Lamar is a rapper, that's a DEI halftime show. Why? Like, he's a big star. That was not, I mean, I didn't think it was a particularly great halftime show. It was in the middle of, there was nothing. It wasn't like there was a Janet Jackson tit slip or something that would offend the sensibilities of conservatives beyond the fact that it was a rap show. And they got a meltdown over it. So, yeah, I mean, it's pretty astounding how they squandered this opportunity. And just to plug, if you want to read the article, it's on our Substack. It's free to read, dudissidents.substack.com. That kind of gets into it a little bit more. But yeah, definitely that was our last piece of 2025 election commentary that we hadn't gotten to just yet until now. All right, let's take some super chats and rumble rants, and then we will close the lights on the show. I'll take the rumble rants first.
Yeah.
$1 Million Trooper. If we
I'm
can't
expecting a delivery and the bell rang. So I'm
okay.
distracted.
If we can't afford to defend Israel's interests in the Middle East, we should leave. Yeah, maybe Israel should pack up too. Ben Shapiro is right. There you go. If you're brown, you must have your papers, citizen or not. Fascist America is here. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Like, what if you don't have your ID handy? Like, you're out there doing landscaping work, manual work. Sometimes if you're out there working with your hands, you put shit, in the car, in the glove box. Like, who knows? In the locker at work. Like, yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Okay. What do we got here? Vito says, even while being wrestled to the ground, that young man was still easier to understand than Mumble's home and Cancer Sucks You All Rock. Thank you. Yes, indeed. Vienticus Prime, they'll defend Rittenhouse on the stand and then mock that kid for crying. Shows you they never gave a shit about Rittenhouse. Yep. All right, let's take some super chats.
Lynn Patch became a YouTube member. Thank you, Lynn. Race car. Hey, Russell, ever play Snake on the original Metal Gear 1 for the NES? That game was insanely difficult. So I've explained this before. The reason I missed the whole gamer thing, like the whole thing, is in my youth, I was very prone to video game addiction. Right. And when they invented these home consoles with graphics that I could only have dreamed about, in the days when I was mastering Spy Hunter, that was my favorite game, by the way, back in those days. I said that would be the end of my life if I brought one of those consoles into my house. I would never do anything else. That I would be like one of these Japanese kids that drops dead of a heart attack from gaming too long. So the whole thing, I missed the whole gaming thing. Brad Gilbert, Bobert reminds me of the Facts of Life theme song. I could see that. Andy Gardner, what comes after this phase of accelerationism? Hopefully not nuclear war.
Yeah.
We could survive just about anything else and recover from it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big thing. That's the big thing.
Do we go through a normal Dark Ages, or do we go through, our descendants or three-headed dogmen?
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Never know. Shady Deals says, why you got to bring up Shiloh? Unite the white trash. Thank you, Shady Deals. Appreciate that. Hey, Shady Deals is an Arkansan and Shiloh is a Minnesotan. That's why we always say, the South gets a bad rap for being the exclusive home of American racism. Though there's a lot of that. Shit
you got plenty of that all over the country. Yeah,
you do indeed. All right, everybody, that is our show. Thank you very much for being here. We hope you enjoyed the week with us. We enjoyed the week with all of you. I'll be checking into RB's show on Saturday night, 9 o'clock. Well, I think it starts earlier, but I'll be on around 9 to wish him congratulations on his 100th episode. So shout out to our friend and patron, RB. And then next week, we got a big week. We got Sunday night, obviously. We are hosting the Jimmy Dore show next Wednesday. So that is a week from yesterday. So you'll be seeing a little extra of us next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Smash that like button on the way out, please. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube and that follow button over on Rumble. Helps us out a great deal. Appreciate you all spending the afternoon with us. Thanks very much once again. Until we see you Sunday night at 7 p.m., be safe and be well.
Courage!
Please clap.